Chapter 2793. By the way, I seem to have some divine artifact fragments with me. At this moment, Xiaoping remembered the large number of divine artifact fragments he had obtained in the Abyss world. Some of the fragments could be combined into a complete divine artifact. However, due to various things before, he had temporarily put it aside. He did not know what kind of divine artifact fragments could be combined into. He hoped that it would not be too much of a scam. Swoosh. Thinking of this, Xiaoping waved his hand and took out many divine artifact fragments at once. Whoosh! In an instant, the divine artifact fragments gathered together and seemed to have an instinctive reaction. Like memory metal, they automatically healed themselves without anyone controlling them at all. Originally, there were huge cracks between the fragments, but after they fused together, the cracks disappeared as if they had never been there. In just a moment, the divine artifact fragments had completely fused together and formed a whole. He fixed his eyes on it and saw that it was a huge purple hammer. The purple hammer was engraved with dense patterns of the law of thunder. It seemed to contain complete thunder source energy deep inside, emitting a terrifying aura of destruction. A hammer? Xiaoping was speechless. He did not expect the divine artifact fragments to form a hammer after stacking together. However, just by sensing the aura emitted by the hammer, he could prove that the divine artifact was not simple. It must be a powerful divine artifact that seemed to have unparalleled destructive power. Even after going through great damage, the hammer still emitted a terrifying aura, as if it was a divine artifact in its heyday. Unfortunately, without the existence of an artifact spirit, it would probably have died long ago. Even so, this divine artifact should not be underestimated. In terms of power alone, it probably surpassed the level of a supreme divine artifact. Boom! Thinking of this, Xiaoping did not hesitate. He operated the massive world power in his body and immediately poured it into the hammer. His powerful soul power seeped into the depths of the hammer's core in an attempt to refine it. Whoosh! In an instant, the hammer produced a massive devouring power. Like dew after a long drought, it greedily devoured the endless world power in Xiaoping's body. It was as if the power of the world was making up for the lack of origin energy in his body. Fortunately, Xiaoping's dermic powers were boundless. Even the dermic powers that his soul possessed exceeded that of ordinary primordial sages by more than 20 times. Not to mention the fact that he had 9 primordial spirits on him. The power of the world they contained was simply terrifying and boundless. It could barely support the speed at which the hammer was devouring the power of the world. At the same time, because this hammer had long since lost its master, Xiaoping's refining process was extremely smooth. His soul strength instantly seeped into the core of the hammer. It seemed to be a crystallization of the laws of lightning. It was hexagonal in shape, like a purple crystal, and emitted dense lightning origin energy. Dong! In the next second, Xiaoping's body shook as if he had been struck by lightning. He sensed that his soul power had instantly refined the hammer, and he had gained control of the core of the hammer. Suddenly, a huge amount of lightning origin energy swarmed into his body, as if it was free. The energy of each lightning origin energy was terrifying and boundless, as if it could split the void of the universe in half. Fortunately, he did not know how many times he had been struck by the thunder tribulation. He had gotten used to it as he was struck, and even formed a special thunder physique. Otherwise, if he had received so much lightning origin energy at once, he would probably have been electrocuted. The name of this divine artifact is Mjolnir's hammer. Xiaoping's eyes widened. He immediately obtained specific information about this divine artifact from the depths of the giant hammer's core. This divine artifact was called Mjolnir's hammer. In the previous universe, this divine artifact seemed to have been controlled by a Mjolnir. The other party had mastered the power of the laws of lightning and was a powerful god. Unfortunately, the Mjolnir had died during the twilight of the gods, and even the Mjolnir in its hand had shattered. However, due to the immortal characteristics of Mjolnir's hammer, even if it had shattered into countless pieces, if all the fragments of the divine artifact were gathered, it could still be restored to its original state. Unfortunately, compared to its heyday, Mjolnir's current strength was less than 1/10 of its original strength. It would probably take a long time for it to recover to its heyday's power. After all, the damage caused by the laws of origin energy could not be easily recovered. What a powerful lightning force. Xiaoping immediately grabbed the huge Mjolnir's hammer. Originally, this Mjolnir's hammer was extremely heavy. Even ordinary sages would find it difficult to lift it. It was many times heavier than a star. It was said that the material used to refine this Mjolnir's hammer was star iron. This was a special, or that could only be produced in the depths of the core of every planet. After hundreds of millions of years of pressure from the mantle movement, and the erosion of the power of the stars, it could only be produced. Such an ore could only be produced on large planets, and each planet weighed less than half a kilogram. To refine such a Mjolnir's hammer, who knew how much star iron, and how many resources would have to be used? Perhaps even an invincible sage would not be able to support it even if he were to go bankrupt. Only gods could be so extravagant as to use all their resources to create a divine artifact. Therefore, one could imagine the weight of this Mjolnir's hammer. It was definitely not something that could be easily lifted. However, after Xiaoping refined the Mjolnir's hammer, he found that his mind and the Mjolnir's hammer had become one. This huge hammer was simply as light as a feather, and he could easily swing it. Furthermore, every time he waved it, it would create a terrifying destructive power. If the hammer were to smash down lightly, even a planet would probably be destroyed. Dong! In an instant, Xiaoping circulated the power of the world in his body and infused it into the Mjolnir's hammer. He gently hammered at the void in front of him. Suddenly, countless lightning laws on the Mjolnir's hammer lit up. Countless tiny purple thunderbolts gathered together and finally fused into a terrifying purple thunderbolt. Boom! This purple thunderbolt blasted out and instantly tore the void in this part of the universe. A spatial crack that spanned billions of kilometers appeared, and the crack meandered. What a powerful force! Xiaoping was extremely excited. He could feel the power of this divine artifact. Just now, he had only used a portion of his power, but after being converted by the Mjolnir's hammer, he had activated the support of the source of lightning and increased the damage by more than 10 times. It could be said that using this divine artifact, he could use the smallest amount of power to cause great damage. Of course, the most important thing was that he had advanced to the archaic realm. His body was filled with the power of the world. Using the power of the world to activate the divine artifact was many times more efficient than using the power of creation. This was like a bicycle suddenly evolving into a plane. This was a qualitative improvement. Sogu website. Chapter 2794. In fact, this was the decisive difference between an ancient saint and an ancient saint. If an ancient saint could only utilize 10% of the artifact's power, then an ancient saint could utilize 20%. Just looking at the efficiency alone, it was unknown how many times it had improved. Not to mention, the ancient saint's comprehension of the world's laws had caused his body to undergo earth-shattering changes, allowing his body to produce a world esper that could contain a huge amount of world force. What a great weapon! Xiaoping was excited. Holding Mjolnir in his hand, he felt that with Mjolnir in his hand, he could easily defeat any enemy. This artifact could increase his combat strength by more than 10 times. Beep! Just then, the system's voice rang out again. Warning, warning, warning. There are 3 invincible sages of the angel race rushing towards the host's location. They will arrive in 10 minutes. Host, please be prepared to defend against the enemy. These 3 invincible sages of the angel race have an intense killing intent towards the host. They will not rest until one of them is dead. What? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. What is going on? Why did you only warn me when the enemy is so close? He didn't expect that he would be chased by the angel race not long after he advanced to the immemorial realm. Although he did bring a lot of trouble to the angel race last time, he didn't expect them to hate him to this extent. In order to kill him, they even sent out invincible saints. How highly did he think of him? The angel race's headquarters is very special. There is a mysterious force that interferes with the system's perception. Only when these invincible saints leave the headquarters can the system sense the hatred of these angels. The system continued. Plus, The host is in the critical period of breaking through to the immemorial saint realm and cannot be disturbed. Otherwise, all the previous efforts might be wasted. Thus, this reminder will be delayed. Host, please be prepared immediately. This time it's not a small matter. Angel Race's headquarters? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He was getting more and more curious about the headquarters. What kind of place could allow such an incredible treasure like the system to block it? This isn't something ordinary people can do. To be honest, the mysteriousness of the Angel Race's headquarters could be ranked in the top 3 in the universe, on par with Gaia Paradise and other places. No one knew where the angels lived. Some people asked the angels, but the angels always said they lived in heaven. Forget it. 3 invincible saints. It's also a good opportunity to test my current strength. Xiaoping clenched his fists. If he hadn't broken through to the archaic realm, he would have immediately fled into the hellish realm to lie low for a while. However, things were different now. He had broken through to the Archean realm, comprehended the laws of the world, grasped world energy, and possessed a god artifact to protect him. His battle prowess had risen by who knew how many times. Even if he could not defeat the 3 invincible sages this time, he would not die. After all, he had various methods to preserve his life. Therefore, he had no reason to retreat. He wanted to test the strength of these strongest people in the universe. He wanted to see if they were really as invincible as the legend said. Thinking of this, he revolved the world force in his body and swallowed the energy of the universe origin source. In a few breaths of time, his essence, energy, and spirit had recovered to its peak state. Rumble. In an instant, a few minutes later, with Xiaoping's body as the center, the area within a range of several tens of thousands of light years was enveloped by a terrifying power. It covered this part of the universe's void, forming an absolute domain. Densely packed angel runes seemed to appear in the depths of this part of the universe's void. They turned into many angel restrictions, forming a total of 1,800 densely packed angel restrictions that sealed off the universe's void. Under the seal of such angel restrictions, this place had become an absolute domain of heaven. No living creature would be able to escape from this space-time sealed off by the angels. Even the universe virtual network was completely cut off, making it impossible to send any information out. Boom! In the next second, the void in front of him split open, and an angel's gate appeared, emitting boundless holy light. It was as if it had become a sun, illuminating this dark part of the universe's vacuum. Wherever the angel's light went, all darkness would retreat. It was as if this place had become an eternal heaven, emitting scorching angel's light. Following this, from the depths of the angel's gate, 3 powerful demigod angels walked out. There was a golden halo above their heads. That was the angel's wisdom halo, a symbol of one's comprehension of the universe's origin laws to the extreme. Their bodies were extremely huge, larger than a star. There were also 12 pairs of angel wings on their backs. When a single wing was gently spread out, it seemed as if it could envelop an entire planet. Densely packed white feathers grew on each pair of angel wings. They were extremely pure, without any impurities, and they contained extremely pure angel power. It was as if any of the angel feathers that fell would transform into a world of heaven, purifying all impurities. Their eyes were also cold and emotionless, just like machines. No one could read any emotions from their eyes. It was as if they had reached a realm of emptiness, neither falsehood nor emptiness. Amazing! Xiaoping's pupils constricted. Even though he had been constantly overestimating the strength of demigod experts, the instant these 3 angel demigod experts appeared, they still brought him immense pressure. The universe's void in all directions seemed to have collapsed. Even light rays were distorted, forming densely packed void cracks. This was different from the human race patriarchs he had seen before. Back then, the human race patriarchs had been kind and had even restrained their auras. But now these 3 angel demigod experts were different. They had come with killing intent, and they did not conceal it at all. The difference was simply unimaginable. The instant these 3 demigod angels appeared, with their bodies as the center, a terrifying angel domain was produced. It was as if just by standing opposite them, they could rely on that vast, boundless, unparalleled angel power to crush all matter in this universe into dust. Even if it was a planet, they could easily shatter it into powder, causing the void of the universe to collapse in all directions, forming terrifying black holes. Their every move, every word, and every action contained heavenly might, representing the operation of the universe's origin laws. They could easily mobilize boundless origin energy. Even their bodies themselves were like miniature universes, as if they had already formed complete universe laws. They were independent of the universe, as if they were experts that had transcended the three realms. These were demigods, supreme experts that were closest to gods. They were also the strongest experts in the universe at present. Chapter 2795. Human Fengdu. In an instant, the three demigod angels appeared in front of Xiaoping. They looked down arrogantly, as if no life in the world was worthy of their attention. Their golden eyes were filled with disregard for life. It was as if they were the workings of the heavens, high and mighty. The archangels of the angel race actually came out together. They really think highly of Fengdu. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows and looked at the three demigod angels. You have the right to do so. Archangel Ludwig looked at Xiaoping indifferently. To be able to advance by leaps and bounds in such a short time and reach the archaic realm, I dare not say that there will be no one in the future, but it is definitely unprecedented. Also, you have obtained the inheritance of the god of war from the previous universe era. In the future, you will definitely stand at the peak of the universe. It is normal for us angels to treat someone like you with great caution. He looked at Xiaoping, as if it was a matter of course. In order to kill the enemy of the angel race, the highest level angels of the angel race had come out directly to ensure that nothing would go wrong. If this still failed, then the angel race really wouldn't be able to do anything to this kid. Human Fengdu, I, Archangel Goebbels, will only give you two choices. Archangel Goebbels looked at Xiaoping with a cold glint in his eyes. The first choice is to believe in my lord, join my race, and become a loyal servant of my lord. The second choice is to die and be destroyed in this world forever, turning into cosmic dust. These two choices, submit or die. What do you choose? He directly gave Xiaoping two choices. It was extremely overbearing. You only have 3 breaths of time to consider. After 3 breaths of time, if you don't surrender, you will die. The remaining Archangel helmet was filled with killing intent. He only gave Xiaoping 3 breaths of time to consider. Scram! Xiaoping only replied with one word. He looked at the 3 demigod angels indifferently. Did they think that just a few words could make him submit? Angel dogs, they were dreaming. Putting aside the fact that these 3 demigod angels might not be able to kill him, even if they really had the strength to kill him, he wouldn't submit to these angels. I see. Since you've already made your decision, then die. As soon as he finished speaking, Archangel Ludwig's eyes flashed with a cold glint. He grabbed with his hand and instantly took out a huge snow-white spear. A peerless saint artifact, the Judgment Spear. This Judgment Spear had once appeared in the secret realm of Sound Pattern Mountain and brought Xiaoping a lot of trouble. However, at that time, it was only in the hands of an ancient saint. Now it was in the hands of a demigod powerhouse. It could be said that the pressure on Xiaoping was completely different. After all, he had completely comprehended the laws of life and death after reaching the invincible saint realm. He had mastered the power of life and death within his body, allowing him to unleash the full power of a peerless saint artifact. It was as if an invincible sword had fallen into the hands of an invincible swordsman. The power it could display was simply incomparable to that of the previous swordsman. Sinner, the Lord has said that he will bring you the judgment of death. Fall. Archangel Ludwig circulated the power of life and death in his body and infused it into the Judgment Spear. Immediately, all the runes within the Judgment Spear appeared, like a supreme scripture. In the blink of an eye, the Judgment Spear erupted with a scorching white light of judgment. It seemed to completely penetrate the vacuum of the universe, wiping out all sins. Even if it was a great thousand world, facing such a light of judgment, it could easily shatter the great thousand world and bring about a doomsday-like disaster. Clearly, Archangel Ludwig was not joking. nor did he have any intention of holding back. He attacked with all his strength, intending to kill Xiaoping in the vacuum of the universe. He would definitely not give Xiaoping any chance to escape. Swish! In the next second, this terrifying light of judgment blasted out, forming a giant pillar with a diameter of several light years. It came crashing down, and everything in its path was reduced to ashes. This area of the universe had long been sealed by the Angel Clan's restriction formation. All the fluctuations of the battle could not be transmitted out. Therefore, no matter how intense the battle was in this area, it would not attract the attention of the other saints. This was also the reason why the 3 demigod-level angels had made a lot of preparations to kill Xiaoping. Their goal was to make sure that Xiaoping would not have any chance of being rescued by the other invincible saints. Thunder God's Hammer Lightning Punishment. At that moment, Xiaoping also made his move. He took out the God of Thunder God's hammer that he had just obtained. Although he had just obtained this God of Thunder God's hammer, it could already play an important role. He mobilized the world power in his body and infused it into the God of Thunder God's hammer. Suddenly, countless laws of thunder in the depths of the God of Thunder God's hammer flashed, and the endless power of thunder gathered together, suddenly forming a purple power of thunder punishment. It was as if the God of thunder had come to the world, controlling the thunder punishment to punish mortals, or even gods. Swish! A huge purple power of thunder punishment that was not inferior to the light of judgment blasted out, blasting toward Archangel Ludwig. It was tit for tat, not giving in at all. Boom! In an instant, the power of the thunder punishment and the light of judgment collided with each other. It was like a needle colliding with a wheat-on, producing a terrifying destructive power. The void of the universe in all directions shattered, creating cracks in the void like a spider web. What? Archangel Ludwig's expression changed greatly, simply unable to believe it. He sensed that the light of judgment that he had cast not only did not kill the human saint of Fengdu, but had even been blocked. No, it was not as simple as just blocking it. The power of judgment that he had blasted out could not withstand the power of thunder punishment, and was continuously pushed back, all of the power of judgment being crushed. Not good. With a boom, Archangel Ludwig was caught off guard. His angelic body was hit by the power of thunder punishment from the God of Thunder God's hammer, and his entire body was sent flying tens of millions of kilometers away. His entire body was surrounded by the crackling power of thunder, almost electrocuting him on the inside. The terrifying power of thunder punishment even drilled into his body, trying to destroy his internal organs. If he had been an ordinary saint, that attack would probably have been enough to seriously injure him. However, he was Archangel Ludwig, a demigod powerhouse who had comprehended the laws of life and death. Naturally, he would not be injured so easily. He channeled the power of life and death in his body, and in a breath's time, he expelled the power of thunder punishment. Even the injuries on his body were instantly healed. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he probably would not have known that he had been injured. Chapter 2796. This is the divine artifact Mjolnir. How did it fall into your hands? Great Angel Ludwig's pupils shrank as he stared at the huge purple hammer in Xiaoping's hand. He could not hide the shock in his heart, because this was the famous divine artifact Mjolnir. Even in the previous era of the universe, this divine artifact, Mjolnir, was still a famous magic treasure. In the hands of a powerful god, it was simply invincible. However, according to the rumors, this Mjolnir had long been destroyed. How did it appear in the hands of this human saint Fengdu? Is this one of the benefits you received after obtaining the inheritance of the god of war? No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. Do you think that you can compete with us angels with a divine artifact? Archangel Goebbels was filled with murderous intent, and his killing intent toward Xiaoping was boiling. Fortunately, they were extremely cautious and knew that even a lion would go all out to catch a rabbit. The 3 demigod angels had moved out together to besiege Xiaoping in order to make sure nothing went wrong. If they had been a little careless and sent the primordial angels to encircle Xiaoping, it would not have been an encirclement but a suicide mission. After all, the power of a divine artifact was not to be underestimated. It was a treasure of a peak race. One could imagine how powerful it was. Even the angels did not have much power. Even if this Fengdu saint was a little weak, with a divine artifact in hand, he would still be able to exert infinite combat power. Even demigod powerhouses would have to be careful. It's none of your business. Take my hammer first. Xia Ping could not be bothered to talk nonsense with these angels. With Mjolnir in hand, he was simply the reincarnation of the god of thunder. It seemed that he could easily communicate with the origin of thunder, and his magic power was integrated into the laws of thunder. Mjolnir, descent of lightning punishment. He was simply incomparably violent. Once again the hammer blasted down, shaking time and space. It was as if the vacuum of the universe had completely exploded, producing infinite destructive power. But more importantly, tens of thousands of purple lightning punishments erupted from Mjolnir. Each purple lightning punishment was like a giant pillar that could easily penetrate the vacuum of the universe. Such thousands of purple lightning punishments crushed down, simply wanting to crush everything and annihilate the three angels in the vacuum of the universe. Arrogant. Seeing this scene, Archangel Goebbels angrily roared. He was both shocked and angry. This human was too arrogant. He clearly knew that they were three demigod angels, existences that had comprehended the laws of life and death. But now, he actually wanted to fight the three of them alone, fighting a demigod as a primordial being. How arrogant was that? Did he really think that the three demigod angels were made of mud? Rumble at that moment, it took out a Supreme Saint artifact. It was a snow-white saber that radiated with the boundless power of light, as if it was a supreme treasure born from the origin of light. It shone with a cold light that could slice through the world. This was the angel race's peerless sacred artifact, Radiant World Cleaving Saber. This peerless saint artifact was an amalgamation of the laws of light. It contained the boundless power of light of the angel race, as well as the angel's origin energy. The sharpness that it erupted with was invincible. With such a slash, even a dozen or so greater thousand realms would be sliced in half. It could be said to be the strongest killing blade of the angel race. Kill. Archangel Goebbels held the Radiant World Cleaving Saber in his hand. Boundless light radiated from his body, as if he had transformed into a sun of holy light, dispersing the boundless darkness. He slashed at Xia Ping, erupting with a terrifying white saber light that seemed to traverse dozens of light years, as if it was going to slice the entire star domain apart. Even under the shroud of this origin of light, there was no sorrow, no pain, no screams, only endless peace. Anyone who was struck by this saber did not die, but instead ascended to heaven. This was like a saber strike of redemption. Human Fengdu, you must die today. The third demigod angel Helmet also made his move. He took out a huge golden bow that was engraved with dense golden angel inscriptions. This huge golden bow emitted a destructive aura that seemed to contain boundless destructive power. It was even more terrifying than the Spear of Judgment and the Radiant World Cleaving Saber. It was born purely for destruction. This was the peerless sacred artifact of the angel race, the Yang Divine Bow. Once upon a time, an invincible saint had besieged the headquarters of the angel race. At that time, demigod angel Helmet had taken out this peerless sacred artifact, the Yang Divine Bow, and shot an arrow at it, immediately severely injuring the invincible saint and forcing him to retreat 3 trillion kilometers. It could be said that this huge bow contained the dense angel origin power of the angel race. It was engraved with the law of killing, and it was indestructible. When the arrow was shot, it was like an explosion of the sun, erupting with boundless destructive power and destroying everything. Swoosh! In an instant, Archangel Helmet held the Yang Divine Bow in his hand and knocked an arrow. A golden energy arrow instantly shot towards Xia Ping, containing the power of destruction, piercing through everything. When this arrow was shot, even the scorching sun above the 9th heaven would be pierced and completely destroyed. Rumble! In the next second, Xia Ping blasted out the power of thunder punishment with Mjolnir, instantly colliding with Archangel Helmet's Yang Divine Bow and Archangel Goebbels' Radiant World Cleaving Saber. These 3 destructive powers immediately collided like 3 suns colliding, producing unparalleled destructive power. Terrifying destructive waves spread out in all directions. At that moment, countless planets in this star field encountered such destructive waves, and were instantly shaken into powder, disappearing into the vacuum of the universe. Fortunately, this was an uninhabited star field. Otherwise, who knew how many lives would have been lost? Dong! Xiaoping could not withstand such an impact. He was instantly sent flying by these destructive waves, retreating hundreds of millions of kilometers. It took a lot of effort for him to dissipate the destructive power. But even so, a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Clearly this attack had injured him. Archangel Goebbels and Archangel Helmut did not fare well either. The two archangels were also retreating hundreds of millions of kilometers, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of their mouths. Clearly they had also suffered injuries. However, such injuries were child's play, and they recovered in an instant. Human Fengdu, you really live up to your name. As expected of the great enemy of my angel race. You're just an archaic saint, yet you can actually fight against us demigods to such an extent. Even if you have the advantage of a divine weapon, you can't deny that your strength is not to be underestimated. A powerhouse like you can only be a friend, not an enemy. If you become an enemy, we can only try our best to annihilate you. At that moment, the three demigods looked at Xiaoping with completely solemn gazes. They completely treated Xiaoping as an evenly matched opponent and would no longer underestimate him. Chapter 2797. Idiot, take my hammer. Xiaoping could not be bothered with what the three angels were saying. He circulated the world energy within his body and once again smashed out with his hammer. Instantly, this hammer contained a heaven-rending, earth-shattering power, and the destructive power was many times greater than before. There were hammer shadows in all directions, covering the star field and the three angels. It was as if the three angels and the star field were about to be completely hammered into smithereens. He could feel that he could easily mobilize the lightning source energy with Mjolnir in his hand. With 10% of his strength, he could unleash 10%, or even 100% of his destructive power. Every hammer strike seemed to erupt with the size of a star. Even if a planet were to be placed here, it would be easily smashed into pieces like glass. Not only could it mobilize the lightning source energy, but the hammer's destructive power also greatly increased the user's strength. This was the power of a divine artifact. A saint with a divine artifact could basically challenge someone of a higher level. However, divine artifacts were extremely rare. Even peak races would use them as their clan's dharma treasures. They wouldn't use them casually. Most saints would be lucky to have a sage artifact. Furthermore, there were very few peerless sage artifacts. Fool! It looks like you still don't know the true gap between primordial saints and invincible saints. It's a huge gap that can't be changed even if you have a divine artifact. The three angels sneered. With a thought, a life and death domain erupted from their bodies, covering the universe's vacuum in all directions. The three domains even resonated with each other and fused together, producing a qualitative change. This wasn't as simple as 1 + 1. It was simply increasing their strength at a geometric speed. Dong! In an instant, Xiaoping's Mjolnir smashed into the three angels' life and death domain, producing an earth-shattering sound. Ripples appeared in the void and shook everywhere. Huh! Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He could sense that his hammer didn't seem to cause any damage to the three angels. When the Mjolnir's power struck the other party's life and death domain, it was like it had fallen into a swamp. It couldn't shake them at all. What surprised him even more was that the power of his attack was being devoured by the three angels' life and death domains. They were constantly being used as their own. He could sense that the energy consumption of the three angels was rapidly increasing. It seems that you finally know some of the abilities of the invincible saint. Archangel Ludwig looked at Xiaoping calmly. Sages who have comprehended the laws of life and death have already grasped the power of life and death. They have comprehended the mysteries of the conversion between life and death, forming a balance between life and death. If the enemy's death power comes into contact with the life and death domain, it will instantly be converted into the life power in our bodies, continuously replenishing our magic power. At the same time, the life force in our bodies can also be quickly transformed into death force, which can be used to launch fierce attacks against the enemy. The transition between life and death has long made us invincible. What? Hearing these words, Xiaoping's pupil shrank. Although he had long known that the invincible saint was terrifyingly strong and could be called invincible in the universe, he did not know why the invincible saint could be called invincible in the universe, and no one could defeat him. At this moment, he finally understood some of the mysteries. A very important reason was the life and death domain, and the tyrannical laws of life and death that the invincible saint possessed. For the invincible saints who had comprehended the mysteries of life and death, they had the ability to convert all the enemy's attacks into life power, and then replenish their own energy consumption. In this way, which saint in the world could defeat them? Even if there were more saints attacking together, it would be useless. This was because the transition between life and death was like the great shift of heaven and earth. The invincible saint could easily reflect the enemy's attacks back at them. On the contrary, the more enemies there were, the more terrifying the combat power of the invincible saint would be. The magic power in their bodies was simply endless. Even if they fought for billions of eras, the magic power in their bodies would not be consumed much. Instead, it would become more and more powerful. To kill an invincible saint, unless one could instantly break the balance between life and death, and break the boundary between life and death, it would be impossible to kill an invincible saint. Apart from this, the invincible saints who had comprehended the laws of life and death could even pull out the souls of the dead from the river of fate and resurrect them, reversing the power of life and death. However, even with the strength of an invincible saint, they could only resurrect life forms below the saint level. Life forms above the immortal saint level basically could not be resurrected. This was because resurrecting the dead was a taboo in the universe. One would suffer the backlash of the universe's origin. The more powerful the resurrection, the more severe the backlash. If one wanted to resurrect an immortal saint, the invincible saint would probably die from the backlash of the universe's origin in an instant. No one could save him. Even if one wanted to resurrect a mortal in the lightning tribulation realm, the invincible saint would suffer unimaginable injuries. It would probably take billions of eras for them to recover from their injuries. They would also be cut off from advancing further. Therefore, the invincible saints never used this ability. The gains did not make up for the losses. The laws of life and death? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. With just a single touch, he could sense the suffocating power of the invincible saint. The power of the laws that suppressed everything. If he did not have a divine artifact on him, he would probably have to run away. Even if he could temporarily contend with the invincible saint, it would be useless. The more the invincible saint fought, the stronger the invincible saint would become. Sooner or later, he would be completely suppressed. It could only be said that the invincible saint was worthy of the title of invincible saint. Just this strength alone was enough to suppress all the races in the universe. Having an invincible saint could guarantee that one's race would stand at the peak of the universe. It could be said that the invincible saint was the true key to suppressing the luck of the race. Ludwig, don't talk nonsense with this human. Just eliminate him. Let him know the true meaning of despair and the consequences of going against the angel race. Archangel Goebbels held the world-splitting blade of light in his hand. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Although they had long been in an invincible position, they were also afraid that a long delay would bring trouble. If they continued to delay, the human race's ancestors might discover something fishy. If the human race's ancestors arrived in time, then their plan this time would completely fail. The entire angel race would even incur the wrath of the human race. Therefore, this time they had to finish this battle quickly. They had to kill the Fengdu saint as soon as possible, and then destroy his corpse. This way, the human race would not know who killed their primordial saint. Chapter 2798. For the sake of light, I shall slay all sinners, slay all existences that disrespect the Lord, slay all sins in the world, slay all darkness in the world. No sin, no filth shall be allowed to live in the light. Archangel Goebbels's face glowed with a holy light. He held the peerless saint artifact, the world-splitting blade of light, and the magic power on his body was raised to the extreme. reaching the level of shaking the void. When such a wave of magic power erupted, Xiaoping felt a burst of fear. It was as if a random burst of magic power could form a cosmic storm, sweeping in all directions. In fact, the power of an invincible saint was not limited to what was mentioned above. The real terror of an invincible saint was that they had control over the laws of time, space, creation, life and death, and so on. These laws that formed the foundation of the universe were integrated into one, condensing a small universe in their body. The result was obvious. The magic power contained in their body was so strong that it was frightening. Just the magic power fluctuations on their body could destroy countless worlds. Moreover, the small universe in their body had already formed a balance, self-contained and endless. The domain of an invincible saint crushed over, just like a small universe suppressing over. The weaker saints would be instantly suppressed and unable to move, unable to use any power of laws. In fact, an invincible saint could easily suppress all the saints below the primordial saint with just a thought, making it impossible for them to even struggle. The reason why the three archangels did not use such a domain to suppress Xiaoping was because Xiaoping had a divine artifact in his hand, which produced waves of tyrannical divine artifact fluctuations that could easily tear apart the domain power of an invincible saint, breaking through the restraint of the other party's domain laws. Otherwise, Xiaoping would be suppressed and completely killed in one move, unable to resist. Dong! In an instant, Archangel Goebbels made his move. He slashed towards Xiaoping with his saber, instantly erupting with billions of white saber lights of light. Each white saber light seemed to be able to slice this part of the universe in half. Wherever the power of light passed, all darkness was expelled. Hundreds of millions of lightsaber lights blasted over, forming a huge net of death that enveloped the universe's vacuum. It didn't give Xiaoping any space or opportunity to escape. In fact, every single blade of light contained the formidable power of the law of death. It was as if it could bring death to all living things and plunder all life force. If Xiaoping was struck by the saber, all of his life force would be sucked clean, and he would instantly become a dried corpse. His soul and flesh would wither and he would die. The Lord says that you are guilty and must die. The great angel Ludwig held the spear of judgment in his hand, his body emitting a scorching light, as if he was the source of infinite light itself. At that moment, he seemed to have transformed into the seraph closest to the Lord. It held the spear of judgment in its hand, and a Bible appeared in front of it. Angelic hymns appeared in the void in all directions, as if countless angels were singing, resonating with the origin of the universe. The judgment spear erupted with a boundless white light, and the power of the law of karma, the law of death, and the law of judgment emerged from the depths of the spear. Vaguely, Xiaoping sensed that his soul had been instantly locked onto by the judgment spear. Even if he walked to the ends of the universe, to the ends of the earth, he would not be able to escape the judgment of the judgment spear. This was because the judgment spear was attacking along the karma lines. As long as the judgment spear locked onto his soul, it would definitely hit. This was the power of the law of karma of the judgment spear. Boom! At the next second, Archangel Ludwig made his move. The judgment spear in his hand was thrown out just like that, and it seemed to turn into a scorching white light, merging into the void of the universe. It was like a javelin, blasting towards Xiaoping at a speed that surpassed hundreds, or even thousands of times the speed of light. It followed the karma lines directly, wanting to penetrate Xiaoping's soul and body, and nail him to death in the universe's vacuum. The Lord says that I will shoot you, and make you kneel before the Lord to repent. Your soul will suffer eternal torture and suffering, and it will only end when the universe ends. Archangel Helmut was expressionless. It was as if he had abandoned all his emotions at that moment, leaving only absolute rationality. His spirit, energy, and spirit were highly concentrated, and he forgot about everything else. He held the young divine bow in his hand, knocked an arrow, and aimed it at Xiaoping. At that moment, Xiaoping felt that the threat of the young divine bow was even greater than the previous two peerless sage artifacts. He felt his hair stand on end, and no matter where he hid, he would definitely be shot. Swoosh! At the next second, Archangel Helmut made his move. He knocked an arrow, and a golden arrow was instantly shot out. It seemed to turn into a beam of golden light, merging into the void of the universe without a sound. A shocking killing intent immediately spread out from the depths of the void. This was no ordinary bow and arrow. It was the arrow of destiny, which contained the laws of destiny. As long as it was shot out, it would definitely hit the enemy, causing terrifying destruction. There were only 9 such arrows of destiny in the angel race. However, after so many years, 6 of them had been used, and only 3 were left. However, every single time it was used, a peerless expert would definitely fall, and it would cause a world-shaking change. Therefore, in order to kill Xia Ping, the angel race had actually brought out the arrow of destiny. One could imagine how much importance the angel race placed on Xia Ping. They had already completely treated Xia Ping as an invincible saint. The laws of death, karma, and destiny attacked at the same time, intertwining with one another. It was as if Xia Ping was in a situation where he would definitely die. Any saint facing such a situation, even if they were invincible saints, would probably die without a doubt. There were not many saints in the entire universe who could withstand such an attack from the angel race. It could be said that in order to kill Xia Ping, the angel race had really put in a lot of effort and used all sorts of methods. In order to kill me, they actually used so many treasures. The angel race really thinks highly of me. Xia Ping's eyes revealed a frightening gleam. He could feel waves of killing intent, and it was as if he was facing an unprecedented situation. He had never encountered such a situation in his entire life. This was an unprecedented crisis. He could feel the laws of death, karma, and destiny blasting toward him. No matter how he dodged, he would not be able to avoid this attack. This was an attack that would definitely hit him. Vaguely, he could feel the aura of death enveloping his entire body. It was as if he could foresee the situation where he would die. His body would be sliced into countless pieces by the world-slaying blade of light. His heart would be pierced by the spear of judgment, and his head would be nailed into the eternal vacuum of the universe by the arrow of destiny. This was a situation where he would definitely die. Chapter 2799. In an instant, Xia Ping immediately took out a divine artifact, the Book of Karma. The dark golden book flipped open, and countless pages of paper appeared. The pages were engraved with dense hellish runes, as if forming a supreme scripture. Immediately, the scriptures of hell merged together and enveloped Xia Ping's body. From the inside out, they were densely packed, forming a spherical karmic barrier. Endless karmic laws appeared in the Book of Karma, emitting an immense karmic power. Dong dong dong. In that instant, the attacks of the 3 angels arrived. The world-splitting blade of light, spear of judgment, and arrow of destiny struck Xia Ping's body at the same time. The power of the death, karmic, and destiny laws erupted at the same time, all blasting against the karmic barrier. An earth-shattering boom erupted, producing extremely terrifying energy waves. The energy waves of such laws swept out in all directions, affecting a radius of tens of thousands of light years. Everything in its path was shaken into dust. What? In the next second, the expressions of Archangel Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut all changed. They discovered that their attacks with all their might had landed on the human Fengdu. Originally, this was a sure-win attack. They had high hopes that it would completely kill the human Fengdu and make him disappear from this universe. However, they discovered that when their attacks landed on Fengdu's body, they were all blocked. It seemed as if he was completely unharmed, and they could not break through his defenses at all. No, not only were they unable to break through his defenses, but from the densely packed energy barrier on his body, it seemed as if all their attacks had been reflected back at him. Damn it, he can actually reflect our attacks back at him. What kind of joke is this? Archangel Ludwig's expression changed drastically. He was in utter disbelief. This was because he had never heard of or seen something like this. What kind of treasure could reflect the power of a peerless divine artifact? This was the first time he had seen something like this. In fact, he had never even heard of it before. Divine artifact. This kid has a divine artifact that can reflect all attacks. Archangel Goebbels screamed. He could immediately tell that the Book of Karma, that Xiaoping had taken out was clearly emitting the aura of a divine artifact. There was no way it would be wrong. Are you kidding me? This brat already has the Thunder God's hammer, an unparalleled divine weapon, and an attack that can reflect attacks. Who can defeat him? Wouldn't that be heaven-defying? Just how many good things did this guy get from the God of War's inheritance? Archangel Helmet's face turned green. At the same time, he was incomparably resentful towards Xiaoping, because the treasure left behind by the God of War originally belonged to the angel race, but now it had been snatched away by this human fondue. One could imagine how furious he was right now. If it wasn't for this kid, their angel race would have definitely obtained all the benefits instead of being monopolized by this human race saint. Rumble. But no matter how shocked, envious, and infuriated the three archangels were, this power still bounced back at them. In fact, it was twice as fast as before. After all, this was a full-powered attack from them, so its power was not to be underestimated. Even an invincible saint would have to give it his all in the face of this attack. Otherwise, he would definitely be heavily injured. Therefore, the three archangels felt unprecedented pressure. In their entire lives, they had never experienced being attacked by their own power. This was the first time in their lives. At this moment, they finally understood how terrifying the pressure their enemy was facing. Angel Domain, Holy Light Heaven. In an instant, the three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmet roared angrily. The domains on their bodies immediately erupted, and they instantly fused together. Immediately, with their bodies as the center, endless white-hot holy light erupted. It seemed to form a huge heaven domain, covering the void in all directions. Vaguely, under the cover of this holy light, it seemed as if a heaven world had been born. Inside, there were countless angels chanting, forming densely packed angel runes. These angel runes also quickly formed a huge holy light barrier, stacking layer upon layer, turning into 108 layers. It was as if this was the barrier of the world. Boom! At this moment, this force instantly bombarded the holy light heaven, erupting with unparalleled power. Unfortunately, no matter how hard the three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmet tried, they could not withstand such destructive power. After all, offensive power was always much stronger than defensive power. With a few cracking sounds, the void barrier formed by the holy light immediately shattered like glass. Then, it pierced through the holy light heaven, and the terrifying destructive power bombarded their bodies. Ah! Immediately, the three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmet all let out miserable cries. In an instant, they were blasted away by this huge force, flying hundreds of millions of kilometers. With a puff, they could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. The terrifying power of laws bombarded their bodies. Even with the power of the life and death domain, they could not convert this power in time. In an instant, the three archangels were severely injured, and injuries that could not be healed in a short period of time appeared on their bodies. Damned humans! Baidu Archangel Ludwig's eyes were filled with anger as he stared at Xiaoping. He felt unprecedented anger, and he encountered an unimaginable defeat. Originally, he thought that his mission this time was in the bag. Who would have thought that this would happen? Not only did he not kill the Saint of Fengdu quickly, but he was also severely injured by the other party. Moreover, this human was a saint who had just advanced to the Archean realm, while they were invincible realm saints. How could they accept such a ridiculous result? If this matter were to spread, they would probably become the laughing stock of all the races in the universe. Kill. However, at this moment, Xiaoping had no intention of stopping, nor did he give the three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmet any chance to fight back. He grabbed with his big hand and took out the third divine artifact, the reincarnation pen. Damn it, what else does this kid want? Archangel Goebbels saw that Xiaoping took out another magic treasure, and his face turned green. He was afraid of this human, who always had an endless number of magic treasures and countless tricks. Another divine artifact. Damn it, just how many more divine artifacts does this human have? This is too much. Archangel Helmet's face was as black as charcoal. He could feel that the mysterious pen was emitting a strong aura of a divine artifact, and it contained a terrifying power of sharpness. In terms of power, it was not inferior to the hammer of God of Thunder just now, and might even be stronger. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 2800. To be honest, the three angels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut could not understand. For ordinary saints, even if they were from the top races, it was already an incredible thing for them to own a god artifact. But what about this Fengdu of the human race? To think that he would take out legendary weapons one after another. It was as though legendary weapons were worthless. Even if he had a lot of treasures on him, he should know when to stop. Even if these god artifacts might have been obtained from the god of war's inheritance, it was still too much. Moreover, each god artifact was so powerful. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed that a saint would have so many god artifacts on him. This was simply unimaginable and unbelievable. Reincarnation Brush. Xiaoping held the reincarnation brush in his hand and channeled a huge amount of world energy into it. A terrifying sharp force erupted from the reincarnation brush, emitting a terrifying power that could pierce through the sky. Vaguely, he seemed to have turned into the god of hell. With the reincarnation brush in hand, he drew reincarnation, cut yin and yang, and determined life and death. It was as if he controlled the life and death of all life in the world. Whoosh! In the next second, the reincarnation brush blasted towards the three angels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut. It blasted out three incomparably sharp beams of light that turned into three beams of black light. It was as if a beam of black light was enough to cut the universe's vacuum in half. Nothing could stop the sharp power of the brush. Not good. The expressions of the three angels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut changed drastically. It was as if their fathers had died, and their faces were extremely ugly. They felt a fatal danger. It was as if the three beams of black light would break the balance of their life and death domains, pierce through their souls, and reap them into the endless cycle of reincarnation. Block! The three angels bellowed out furiously. They unleashed the power of life and death within them, pushing the power of the three supreme quality saint artifacts to their limits. Immediately, the three peerless saint artifacts, the Spear of Judgment, the world-splitting Blade of Light, and the Sun Divine Bow, shot out at the same time, turning into three scorching suns that blocked in front of them. Dong dong dong. In an instant, the reincarnation brush's sharp power blasted over, bombarding the three peerless saint artifacts. Immediately, a terrifying destructive power erupted, and the spiritual connection between the three peerless saint artifacts and the three angels was completely severed. Pooh! The three archangels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut, had not expected something like this to happen. Their spiritual connection with the peerless saint artifacts had actually been severed at the same time. This was basically a heavy blow to their souls in an instant, causing them to suffer an unimaginable backlash. They spat out a mouthful of blood. Even the sharpness of the reincarnation brush was not limited to this. It directly blasted toward the void of the universe in the distance, piercing through the void. In an instant, it cut the restriction formation in all directions into two halves and instantly shattered. Oh no! The expressions of the three angels changed drastically. They could feel that the restriction array they had painstakingly set up was to isolate the connection between this part of the universe and the outside world. But now, with just a light stroke of this brush, it had actually disintegrated the angel clan's powerful restriction array formation, and it was easily smashed into pieces like glass. At this moment, this place could no longer seal this human. At the same time, it could no longer resist the fluctuations of the battle. But even if they wanted to stop him, they were powerless. At the beginning, the rebound from the Book of Karma, coupled with the reincarnation brush, severing their connection with the three peerless saint artifacts, caused their souls to suffer a backlash. A series of blows made it so that they almost had no strength to fight back. Even with the power of an invincible saint, it was difficult to reverse this situation. Swoosh! In the next second, Xiaoping grabbed the three peerless saint artifacts, the Spear of Judgment, the world-splitting Blade of Light, and the Sun Divine Bow, in his hands, taking them for himself. Human Fengdu, how dare you! Seeing this scene, Archangel Ludwig was shocked and angry. These were extremely important peerless saint artifacts of the angel clan. They were the treasures of the clan, and they could not be lost. Now, if they fell into the hands of this human Fengdu, not only would the angel clan suffer a huge loss of power, but the power of the human clan would also skyrocket. In this way, the angel clan would be at a complete disadvantage. How could they let such a thing happen? Human Fengdu, immediately let go of the 3 peerless saint artifacts of my clan. These are not treasures that a lowly human like you can get your hands on. Archangel Goebbels angrily ordered Xia Ping to immediately give up on the 3 peerless saint artifacts. It's useless, human Fengdu. These are treasures of my angel clan, and they have the Lord's imprint on them. Even if you take them away, you won't be able to use them at all. Archangel Helmut threatened. If you dare to take away these 3 peerless saint weapons, you will be making an enemy out of the angel race. Have you thought about the consequences? That's right. This is the decisive battle between the main universe and the abyss world, and our angel clan is an important battle force of the various races. If you take these 3 peerless saint artifacts, it will cause our angel clan to betray us. Have you thought about the consequences? You will become a sinner in the eyes of the various races. You are a sinner, do you know that? Archangel Goebbels threatened. He indicated that if Xia Ping dared to take these 3 peerless saint artifacts, the angel clan might betray them and join the abyss demons. What does that have to do with me? Xia Ping looked at the 3 archangels lazily with disdain. He didn't believe that the angel clan would betray them. After all, the angel clan and the abyss demon clan were polar opposites. There was no room for them to cooperate. They were both mortal enemies. Of course, the most important thing was that even if the angel clan betrayed them, he wouldn't be afraid at all. The war between the various races wasn't something that could be decided by a single race. However, there's still that Lord's imprint on them. It seems like I need to clean them. Xia Ping used his divine sense to sense that there was indeed a tyrannical imprint inside. It contained a powerful restriction power. Even the infernal golden crow flames wouldn't be able to break it in a short period of time. But he didn't have that much time to waste. Fortunately, he still had the Yellow Springs holy water. This was a treasure that could dissolve the souls of all living things. Even the demon god was extremely fearful of the Yellow Springs holy water. If even the demon god was afraid of it, then there was even less of a need to worry about the abilities of the angel clan's lord. ZZZZ in an instant, Xia Ping took out some Yellow Springs holy water and poured it on the 3 peerless saint artifacts. Immediately, when the Yellow Springs holy water dripped on them, it was like sulfuric acid entering the ground. It corroded a large amount of soul matter and produced clouds of white mist. At the same time, the spiritual imprint inside the 3 saint artifacts was instantly wiped out. Chapter 2801. Boom. However, when the Yellow Springs holy water seeped into the depths of the 3 peerless saint artifacts, it immediately came into contact with a mysterious spiritual imprint. It seemed to be an extremely complicated angelic rune. Its appearance was like a ball of light, releasing a scorching light. Even Xia Ping could sense that such a spiritual imprint was extremely dangerous. It was many times more terrifying than the spiritual imprint left behind by an invincible saint. If it was an ordinary method, it would be impossible to remove such a spiritual imprint. However, under the corrosion of the Yellow Springs holy water, even the soul of a demon god would be melted. There was no spiritual imprint that could not be removed. ZZT 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 in an instant, the white balls of light emitted clouds of white smoke. It seemed as if there were waves of shrill cries coming from the depths of the white balls of light. It was as if there were billions of angels roaring angrily, or as if there were countless demons screaming. Vaguely, there seemed to be a ball of terrifying angelic energy coming from the depths of the white balls of light. It seemed as if it was communicating with an unknown existence in the void of the universe. Dong. However, in the next second, the Yellow Springs holy water seeped into the balls of light and instantly cut off this connection. The spiritual imprint inside was completely removed, leaving nothing behind. It seemed as if there was a furious roar coming from the depths of the void at this moment, causing one's heart to palpitate. Impossible. Seeing this, Archangel Ludwig's eyes widened. He simply could not believe what his eyes were seeing. This was because these three peerless saint artifacts not only had the spiritual imprint of their demigod-level angels, but also the imprint of the Lord. Even if an invincible saint were to take them away, he would not be able to refine them. They were also extremely confident. However, this scene almost caused their faith to collapse. They did not know what this human had done to actually be able to remove even the imprint of the Lord. This was simply unimaginable. Damn it! What did this human do to these three peerless saint artifacts? Archangel Helmut clenched his fists. He could not understand no matter how hard he thought. He could not understand how there was a way to remove the imprint left by the Lord on the peerless saint artifacts. If the owner's mark was left on them, then no matter where these three peerless great saint artifacts went, they would be found by the angel clan, and would eventually return to the angel clan. Sometimes they would even deliberately leave the angel race's weapons behind, and let other enemies pick them up. This way, they could use the imprints on the angel race's weapons to know where the enemy's nest was, and annihilate them in one fell swoop. This could be regarded as a method unique to the angel clan. Countless races knew that taking away the angel clan's magic treasure would not be of any use. Instead, it might cause a lot of trouble. This human is a great enemy of my angel clan. Archangel Goebbels's pupils constricted, his killing intent surging. Because such a thing had never happened before. If this human grasped the method to remove the Lord's imprint, then it would simply be a disaster for the angel race. In other words, this guy could deprive the angels of the privilege to use the angel race's weapons at will, and even take them for himself. This was a huge blow to the angel race. Such a thing was simply unheard of and unseen. Not a bad magic treasure. Xia Ping waved his hand, and immediately placed the three ownerless peerless grade saint artifacts into the world of the classic of mountains and seas. He had already witnessed the power of these three peerless grade saint artifacts from the angel clan. Every single one of them was extraordinary. Although they were not comparable to the divine weapons he had, they were still quite amazing. Even among the peak races, there were not many peerless sacred weapons. Human Fengdu, you are courting death. Immediately hand over our race's peerless sacred weapons. Otherwise, our angel race will not rest until you are dead. Hand them over and die. When the three archangels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut saw that Xia Ping had actually taken the three peerless sacred weapons, as if they were his own treasures, they were immediately filled with rage. They felt an unprecedented anger, as if a lot of flesh had been cut off from their bodies. It was simply unbearable. Not rest until you are dead. The next time we meet, it will be the time of your angel race's annihilation. Xia Ping looked at the three archangels indifferently. He did not care about what the three archangels thought at all. Since they dared to kill him, they would not rest until he was dead. Was there any reason for him to be polite? Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, his body flashed, and he immediately fled into the distance at an extremely fast speed. To be honest, he did not want to continue fighting. Although he had the upper hand just now, and was suppressing the three demigod angels, the truth was that he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. After all, using the divine weapons consumed too much of his world power. Moreover, he had used his full strength. After a few attacks, he had used up most of his world power. If it were an ordinary primordial saint, it would probably be difficult for him to use the divine weapons. After all, with their world power, they would probably not be able to withstand a single attack from the divine weapons. Only a primordial saint like Xia Ping, who had unbelievably strong powers in his body, could squander the attacks of the divine weapons so many times. Even so, he could not continue squandering. If he continued to fight, he was afraid that he would not have any power left in his body before he could kill the three demigod angels. Not to mention that there was a mysterious powerhouse behind the three demigod angels. Who knew what other trump cards these demigod angels had not used? Therefore, after careful consideration, Xia Ping felt that he had gained a lot this time. There was no need to continue fighting with these demigod angels. Human Fengdu, don't leave if you have the guts. The three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmet were shocked and furious. They did not expect this bastard to run away in the blink of an eye. They immediately used their full speed and tried to chase after him. However, Xiaoping's speed was really too fast. He was not much slower than these demigod angels. With a thought, he could teleport tens of millions of light years. Coupled with the fact that he had the help of the formless mask, he could easily hide his aura. In just a few breaths' time, he disappeared from the perception range of the three archangels. How can this kid be so fast? He's even faster than us demigods? Great Angel Ludwig's expression changed. He couldn't sense Xiaoping's aura within his range of perception. Unwilling to give up, he scanned back and forth, penetrating every dimension and searching every inch of space and time. However, it was to no avail. It was as if this kid had disappeared into thin air. This human is too strange. Archangel Goebel's eyes revealed a hint of coldness. I feel that this human might not only have obtained the inheritance of the god of war, but also the inheritance of other gods. Waves of intense killing intent emanated from his body as he voiced his speculation. Chapter 2802. Impossible. How can one person obtain the inheritance of more than two gods? Archangel Helmet screamed. He felt that this was impossible. Actually, there was a reason for this. After all, the inheritance of gods was exclusive. After obtaining the inheritance of the god of war, it was impossible to obtain the inheritance of other gods. After all, the power of two gods would conflict with each other. It was impossible to fuse them together. Moreover, before one wanted to inherit the power of a god, they would sense the power in the trial taker's body. If they discovered the power of other gods, they would instantly kill or expel the trial taker. Therefore, he had not thought of this at first. Nothing is impossible. Although this is really unbelievable and impossible, who can be sure that there is no other way to do it? Perhaps he has a way to deceive the gods. Archangel Goebbels narrowed his eyes. You must be joking. Obtaining the inheritance of one god is already quite terrifying. This human has obtained the inheritance of more than one god. Isn't this heaven-defying? Archangel Ludwig's expression was very ugly. If this speculation was true, then it was only natural that they failed this time, because they had no idea what the Saint of Fengdu was like. Spread this news, and let all the saints know about this kid's secret. At that time, his enemy won't just be us angels. Everyone will be coveted by him. I want him to be the target of everyone. He won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Archangel Helmet was furious. He hollered. His hatred for Xiaoping had reached an extreme. He wanted to spread the secret that this Saint Fengdu had multiple god inheritances. This way, all the invincible saints in the universe would covet this kid. When that happened, there would probably be no need for the angels to do anything. All kinds of plots and schemes would attack this Saint Fengdu. By then, this Saint Fengdu would probably be dead for sure. Ignorant. This is just the lowest level of schemes. Hearing this, Archangel Goebbels laughed coldly. With this kid's strength, will he be afraid of such schemes? Even 3 demigod-level angels working together, with 3 peerless sacred artifacts can't kill him. How can the invincible saints of other races kill him? Moreover, he has the protection of the human race's patriarch. After this, he will be more cautious. I'm afraid it will be difficult to find such an opportunity to ambush him next time. The other 2 angels were speechless. Indeed, even the 3 demigod-level angels working together couldn't kill this Saint Fengdu. How could the invincible saints of other races do this? Moreover, the demons of the abyss were invading right now. The entire universe was facing a great enemy. The saints of the major races wouldn't attack the invincible saints of the human race just because of this. After all, if there was internal strife in the universe right now, the demons of the abyss would probably laugh to death. Compared to the life and death of the entire race, the sages of the other peak races also knew the severity of the matter. Even if they knew that the other party had treasures on them, they could not brazenly attack them. If they did, they wouldn't. Saints of the saint of saint would be killed. Saints had then that they could 1 and 1 and 1. This was saint 1, comma, saints. comma, comma, comma. There's no rush. Although this kid is crafty and full of tricks, our angel tribe isn't to be trifled with. Return to the angel tribe and report this matter to the Lord. Report this to the Lord. Report this to the Lord? Is there a need to make such a big deal out of it? Hearing this, the two angels became serious. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't contact the Lord. After all, the Lord wouldn't casually hear their prayers. Saint Fengdu Saint is very unusual. He has the inheritance of several gods. He's not someone we can deal with. Only the Lord can capture him. Archangel Gobel said in a deep voice, although this sage Fengdu has caused us a lot of trouble, he is still a moving treasure trove. If we can kill him, I'm afraid that all the divine inheritances on him will be ours. He clenched his fists, his eyes filled with greed. I see. The other two angels couldn't help but nod. Although they hated Saint Fengdu, they had to admit that this kid was like Taoist of many treasures. If they could kill this brat, then their angel clan would become rich overnight. Yes, they would become rich overnight. Even with the wealth of the angel race, they still coveted the treasures on Saint Fengdu. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, the three angels left this place and quickly returned to the headquarters of the angel race. And the news of their return quickly spread to the upper echelons of the angel race. How is it? Did you bring back Fengdu's head? A primordial angel couldn't help but ask. We failed. Archangel Helmet said helplessly, as he recounted everything that had happened in detail. What did you say? This time, 3 demigod angels couldn't kill Saint Fengdu. And he even escaped? It's fine if he escaped, but the 3 peerless sacred artifacts of the angel race were taken by this human saint. What kind of joke is this? A primordial angel couldn't help but scream. Shame, this is a great shame. Another primordial angel roared. A lowly human dares to do such a thing. This is an insult to the Lord, a blasphemy to the Lord, a trampling on the dignity of the angel race. We must capture him, tie him to the angel pillar, and burn him alive with holy fire for 3 days and 3 nights. He was going crazy with anger. Because even in the primordial era, when they were fighting with the demons of the abyss, the angel race had never suffered such a great shame. These were 3 peerless sacred artifacts, a total of 3. 1 peerless sacred artifact was enough to suppress the luck of a race, let alone 3. Even for the peak races, losing 3 peerless sacred artifacts was unbearable. Moreover, these were the sacred artifacts of the angel race, and they were extremely important symbols to the angels. Especially that peerless sacred artifact, the Spear of Judgment, was the symbol of the angel race, the face of the angel race. Everyone knew that the Spear of Judgment was unparalleled. If other races found out that the Spear of Judgment had been taken, the angel race would immediately become the laughingstock of countless races in the universe. This was like China's imperial jade seal being taken by an outsider. This was an intolerable humiliation. Yes, we must kill him. We, the angel race, will not rest until one of us is dead. Many of the angels were furious. Sogu website. Chapter 2803. At this moment in another place, Xiaoping suddenly left the place where the angels were fighting and instantly entered the world of the classic of mountains and seas. He isolated his aura and avoided the search of the angels. Did they go back? At this time, Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and took out the Book of Karma. He immediately saw the karmic threads of himself and the 3 angels in the book. 3 illusory karmic threads seeped out from his body and merged into the depths of the void. It seemed to have entered the river of fate. Then, this karmic thread came out from the other end of the river of fate and finally extended into the void of the universe. However, the place where the 3 angels stayed was too far away. It was so far that he didn't know where it was. He couldn't even touch it with the range of his spiritual consciousness. Could it be the angel race's headquarters? If it's the headquarters, then it'll be interesting. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. He felt that his guess was very likely. If these angels didn't return to the headquarters, then where could they go? If this was the case, then he believed that as long as he followed the karmic threads, he could find the 3 angels, even if they escaped to the ends of the earth. Moreover, he could follow the vines to the melon and find their lair. Moreover, the Book of Karma also showed this. If he followed the karmic threads, he would definitely find the place where the angel race's headquarters was located. I can't be impulsive. I can't be impulsive for now. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He still suppressed his impulse to go to the angel race's headquarters. After all, he only had one chance. If he was discovered after breaking into the angel race's headquarters, then the angels would probably be vigilant next time. It wouldn't be so easy to sneak in again. Moreover, this was how he did things. If he didn't do it, then forget it. But once he did it, he must succeed. Moreover, he must not let the enemy have any ability to resist. Therefore, he planned to wait until his strength rose to another level before looking for trouble with the angels. This way, he could make the angels pay a huge price. Otherwise, even if he went to the angel race's headquarters now, it would be useless. It would only alert the enemy. However, if he found the location of the angel race's headquarters, then everything would be easy. Beep! Right at this moment, the system's voice rang out. Congratulations, host. You've snatched 3 peerless sacred artifacts from the angel race and foiled their plans, causing the angel race to harbor immense hatred towards you. You've even caused the leader of the angel race to harbor hatred towards you. You've obtained a total of 5,000 hatred crystals this time. I hope that the host can continue to work hard. 5,000 hatred crystals? Hearing these words, Xiaoping was taken aback. It seemed that he had never received so many hatred crystals before. Even after causing such a big commotion in the abyss, he had not received 5,000 hatred crystals. But right now, he had merely snatched away the 3 peerless saint weapons of the angel clan. And yet he had received so much hatred. Just what was going on? The system seemed to have sensed Xiaoping's thoughts and explained. Because the angel race is an organization formed by religion, every angel believes in the Lord and is extremely fanatical. It can be said that their hatred for heathens is endless. Every angel is like this, so the hatred generated is especially high. Although host has foiled the plans of the abyssal demons and incurred their hatred, it is only the hatred of some abyssal kings. Most of the abyssal demons don't know much about host. Indeed, Xiaoping nodded. He had stolen the treasury of the abyssal demon lord. In fact, only those abyssal kings who knew about it were very angry. But for the vast majority of the abyssal demons, he was actually just a nobody. And in order to protect the dignity of the demon lord, those abyssal kings also concealed this matter and only spread it among the upper echelons. So the hatred received was relatively small. But the angel race was different. Their methods of dealing with heathens could be considered brutal. To put it bluntly, they were a very stingy race. Their hearts were narrower than the tip of a needle, and they were famous for seeking revenge for the smallest grievance in the entire universe. There was a famous saying in the universe that if you offended an angel, don't even think about running away. Therefore, by doing such a thing, Xiaoping had simply trampled on their dignity and slapped their faces fiercely. One could imagine the hatred that was caused by this. It was estimated that those angels wanted nothing more than to skin Xiaoping alive. It seems that offending the angel race is indeed a good deal. Xiaoping touched his chin, and his eyes immediately lit up. Offending those religious believers was completely different from offending other life forms. The amount of hatred he received was too much. After all, they were all organized, had the same idea, and each of them was quite powerful. Offending one was equivalent to offending a group of them, and the harvest was great. It was like a firecracker. For other experts, this was courting death. There was no benefit in offending the angel race. Instead, it would cause huge trouble. But he was different. Even if he offended this group of angels, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Instead, he would get a lot of hatred. No matter how he looked at it, it was a very cost-effective deal. If I do it a few more times, I might be able to harvest 100,000 hatred crystals soon. Xiaoping thought about it. Previously, the hatred crystals on him had reached 13,000. Now, with the addition of 5,000 hatred crystals, it was already 18,000 hatred crystals, which was an astronomical number. And this number was actually not too far from 100,000 hatred crystals. Just the hatred crystals that he had now were basically equivalent to 1/5 of the amount. Forget it, these are all trivial matters. I wonder how about these 3 Peerless Saint artifacts? At this time, Xiaoping took out 3 Peerless Saint artifacts from his body. The Spear of Judgment, the Yang Divine Bow, and the World-Splitting Blade of Light. These 3 Peerless Saint artifacts all emitted unusual energy fluctuations. Although he already had some Peerless Saint artifacts on him, and even some divine artifacts, who would think that he had so many magic treasures on him? Moreover, this was the Peerless Saint artifact of the angel race, which possessed extraordinary power. Interesting. Xiaoping held the Spear of Judgment, and he could immediately feel the extraordinary nature of this Peerless Saint artifact. It contained a huge law of karma, which seemed to be able to lock onto the enemy's chi. Even if the enemy was hiding in the corner of the universe, it could still track such a line of karma and kill them. This was a veritable Spear of Judgment. As long as the enemy was convicted of a crime, they would almost certainly die. Although the law of karma of this Peerless Saint artifact was not as powerful as the Book of Karma, it was not trivial among the Peerless Saint artifacts. At least, there were only a handful of Peerless Saint artifacts with the law of karma. Sogu. Chapter 2804. The Yang Divine Bow was not simple either. It seemed to contain the law of karma. Once it was shot, it would form an arrow of destiny, which was almost guaranteed to hit its target. At the same time, the Yang Divine Bow also contained the terrifying law of fire and law of destruction. The destructive power of the arrow was extraordinary. It could even easily pierce through a sun. If Xiaoping did not have the Book of Karma as a defensive divine artifact, he would definitely feel uneasy when facing the Yang Divine Bow. He would always be worried about being assassinated. Radiant World-Cleaving Saber. Xiaoping held the saber, and could feel that it contained powerful law of light and law of slicing. There were not many things in the world that could not be split apart. The sharpness of the saber chi was something he had never seen in his life. Of course, in terms of true sharpness, it was naturally not comparable to a divine artifact like the reincarnation brush. However, this peerless sacred artifact, Radiant World-Cleaving Saber, was already quite impressive. Even a space-time barrier could be split in half by this saber. Not a bad treasure. Xiaoping was very satisfied. These 3 peerless sacred artifacts were quite good choices, be it for auction, exchanging for other precious treasures, or keeping them for his own use. As for whether using these 3 supreme quality saint artifacts would infuriate the angels into doing something desperate, that was not within his consideration. On the contrary, the more the angels hated him, the greater the benefits for him. He happened to be lacking a large number of hatred crystals. Master. At this moment, the green ox's voice was transmitted over. Then its figure appeared in front of Xiaoping. What's the matter? Xiaoping's heart stirred. He knew that the green ox would not disturb him, unless it was something important. It's like this. Today is Master's mother's birthday. There will be a family banquet tonight. Master's mother asked me if Master has time to attend. The green ox said solemnly. Today is Mother's birthday? It seems that we haven't seen each other for a long time. It's time to go back and meet her. Hearing this, Xiaoping immediately thought of this matter. To be honest, after entering the universe, especially after entering the immortal realm, he did not have much concept of time. After all, he had an almost eternal lifespan, so he naturally would not pay attention to these things. Unless it was a very meaningful lifespan, such as a birthday of 10,000 years, a birthday of 1,000,000 years, a birthday of 100 million years, etc., he would not celebrate anything else. After all, a single seclusion could last for decades or centuries. Who would deliberately celebrate a birthday? As for the lifespan of his parents, Zhang Xian was not too worried about it either. He had plenty of resources on him, and he was confident that he could push his parents to sempiternal realm. When he had just entered the cosmos, he did not have this ability, but now that he had advanced to the primeval realm, this was a piece of cake. An hour later, Xiaoping returned to Cloud Continent from the void passage of the classic of mountains and seas. At this moment, his father, Xia Chuanlu, and mother Huang Lanqin were living in the presidential mansion on Cloud Continent. After all, his father Xia Chuanlu was currently the president of the Human Alliance. Whoosh! In the next second, his figure flashed as if he had entered an uninhabited land. The so-called defense of the office of the president had no effect on him at all, as if it did not exist. Dad. At this moment, Xia Ping immediately saw his father Xia Chuanlu sitting alone in the living room of the Pavilion Lord Manor. Ha! It's my son. Xia Chuanlu was taken aback, thinking that someone had invaded the office of the president. However, when he turned his head and saw Xia Ping, he could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. I told you to have dinner tonight, and I thought you were busy. I thought you wouldn't come back. Also, can you not always appear and disappear like a ghost? Although your cultivation base is high, you can scare people to death if you scare them. How could I scare you to death, Dad? You're now a great expert at perfection thunder tribulation. Xia Ping could immediately see that Xia Chuanlu's current martial Dao cultivation base had advanced to perfection thunder tribulation. Originally, Xia Chuanlu's martial Dao talent was ordinary, and he might not even be able to advance to the Purple Mansion realm. However, Xia Ping was rich and overbearing. Coupled with Green Bull's alchemy skills at the level of a grandmaster, a huge amount of resources, he refined countless precious pills, which Xia Chuanlu ate like candy. As a result, in a short time, Xia Chuanlu advanced to perfection thunder tribulation. He could be said to be the first person after Xia Ping. Now he was truly a top human expert. Even Giant Corporation's leader Gu Yulai, Aurora Corporation's leader Sun Yangdao, and Life Corporation's leader Lu Wuming couldn't compare to Xia Chuanlu. After all, they didn't have the support of so many resources. If they relied on themselves, they might not be able to reach perfection thunder tribulation, like Xia Chuanlu, even after a few thousand years. At this moment, no one had any doubts about Gu Chuanlu becoming the president of the Federation. After all, his strength was enough to suppress everything. Of course, although Xia Chuanlu was a thunder tribulation realm martial artist, he relied on elixirs to advance. He was purely a fake, and didn't have much combat experience. If he was to fight against someone of the same level, he would probably be beaten up badly. However, his strength was still an overwhelming advantage against martial artists who were one level lower. Haha, I didn't expect my son to be able to see that your father is a great expert. To be honest, your father is basically invincible among humans. Of course, my son is a monster and can't be compared. Xia Chuanlu had a proud expression. Yes. Of course your father is incredible. Xia Ping nodded vigorously. By the way, son, do you have any elixirs for your father to take? Xia Chuanlu leaned closer and said mysteriously, to be honest, you know my cultivation level. I relied on elixirs to advance. I don't have any martial arts foundation. I'm completely a fake. Now that the thunder tribulation is approaching, if I still can't think of a way, I'm afraid the thunder tribulation will strike your father to death. Alas, if I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have advanced so quickly. Who knew that there would be a thunder tribulation? Do you think this damn god can't bear to see others doing well? Why does he strike people so easily? He was indignant, and at the same time, he regretted being too cocky, causing his cultivation level to advance too quickly. As a result, he didn't have any confidence to pass the thunder tribulation. He was afraid that when the thunder tribulation appeared, he would turn into ashes. He would probably be the first human from Yanhuang planet to be killed by the thunder tribulation. This, to be honest, there is still a way. The corner of Xia Ping's mouth twitched, and he looked at his thick-skinned father speechlessly. Others were all dependent on their fathers, but his father was actually dependent on his son. He even asked if there was a way to safely pass the thunder tribulation and advance to the sage realm. Why didn't this guy go to heaven? He didn't even have such a good thing in the past. Fortunately, he had a lot of immortal fruits on him. Otherwise, his father would have really been killed by the thunder tribulation and turned into ashes. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 2805. Are you serious? Even immortal sages can reach that level with pills? Hearing this, Xia Chuanlu was shocked. At first, he was just joking, But he didn't expect there to really be a way. He stared at Xia Ping with his eyes wide open. Of course, after eating this fruit, you'll become an immortal sage very soon. You don't have to worry about the thunder trial either. Xia Ping searched the classic of mountains and seas for a while, and quickly fished out an immortal fruit. He hadn't eaten an immortal fruit for a long time, because such a fruit didn't have much effect on him anymore. However, it was still very useful for thunder trial warriors. After all, an immortal fruit contained the lifetime cultivation essence of an immortal sage. One could imagine how much energy it contained. If such a fruit was taken out to the outside world, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Immortal fruit. Seeing the immortal fruit in Xia Ping's hand, Xia Chuanliu's eyes widened, and he held his breath. With his current cultivation, he could already feel the strangeness of this fruit. It contained a huge amount of immortal qi. Every cell in his body longed to swallow this fruit. This was definitely a rare natural fruit in the universe. At least, he had never heard of any fruit that could help the thunder tribulation to ascend to the immortal level. It was simply unheard of and unseen. Unbelievable. Son, this immortal fruit must be very precious. Xia Chuanlu sighed. It is indeed very precious. Apart from me, no other sages can have it. There is only one in the entire universe. By the way, Mom should be advancing soon, right? You should give her one too. Xia Ping took out 2 immortal fruits and placed them on the table. Seeing Xia Ping treat the immortal fruit so casually, as if it was an ordinary fruit, Xia Chuanliu's mouth twitched. He couldn't feel how precious this fruit was from his son. Of course, the ability to help thunder trial warriors reach immortal was still rare and undeniably powerful. If those thunder trial warriors in the universe knew about this, they would probably buy one even if they had to spend all their money. Son, don't tell me you still have many of these immortal fruits. Xia Chuanlu asked. Not many, just a few hundred. Eat them sparingly. Xia Ping thought about it and answered. A few hundred. Hearing this, Xia Chuanliu's heart skipped a beat. This was a terrifying number. If these fruits were given to some Thunder Retribution Realm warriors, wouldn't they be able to create hundreds of immortal saints? Motherfucker, this was simply producing undying saints like dumplings. Saints were worthless now. By the way, Dad, where did Mom go? Why can't I see her anywhere? Xia Ping asked. He looked around, but couldn't see where his mother was. Oh, she went shopping with your girlfriends. They should be back soon. Xia Chuanlu replied casually. He was still in a state of shock. Girlfriend? Hearing this, Xia Ping was a little confused. He didn't know what his dad was talking about. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this time, there was a burst of bell-like laughter outside, and then a group of women came in. Among them was his mother, Huang Lanxin. In addition, there were Nangong Wu, Qiuxiu Suji, Sumei Jiang Yaru, Chu Rong, Yu Qiqi, and even Lingyun Sex Saintess Yi Mengyao. They came back from outside with big and small bags. Obviously, they had just gone shopping. Moreover, they were talking and laughing with each other, as if they had known each other for a long time. Son, you're back. When Huang Lanxin saw Xia Ping, she immediately cried out in surprise. Mom, Xia Ping said honestly. Great, I knew you would come back today. You must cook a good meal tonight. Huang Lanxin said excitedly. Let's not talk anymore. I'll go into the kitchen to cook first. Old Xia, come in and help. She pulled Xia Chuanlu into the kitchen next door. Obviously, she deliberately found an excuse to leave. Only Xia Ping, Nangong Wu, and the others were left in the hall. To be honest, the hall was so quiet that even a drop of water could be heard. Xia Ping felt an unprecedented tension. Even when facing the 3 invincible saints, he was not so nervous. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. Ahem, I didn't expect you to come to my house for dinner. What a coincidence. Xia Ping was the first to open his mouth and break the deadlock. It's not a coincidence. It's a prepared trip. Su Mei smiled slightly. Who told some men to not be at home and go out to flirt? I really have no choice but to come and ask for an explanation. I'm afraid that Lord Xia is forgetful and has forgotten about us. Su Ji said faintly. You've misunderstood. I didn't do anything to flirt when I went out. All I did was contribute to the human race. I went through fire and water everywhere. I barely survived. It's not so comfortable. Xiaoping protested. Barely survived? Why did I hear that you took the initiative to cause trouble everywhere? One race's treasure house was stolen, and another race's treasure house was stolen. Now there are many saints in the universe who want to kill you. Qiushi looked at Xiaoping speechlessly. These are all misunderstandings. Xiaoping said righteously. It's purely a lie made up by those saints to slander me. If you want to blame me, you can always find a way to frame me. I just went to those places to bring back some gifts. It's not as serious as the theft. Nangongwu looked at Xiaoping in disdain. What do you mean by bringing back some gifts? His entire treasure house was emptied. Is this just bringing back some gifts? This guy's understanding of gifts is different from others. Moreover, this is his treasure house. Can the treasures inside be brought back just because he wants to? I didn't expect the famous Wu Wudi to be so obedient at home. If Auntie Huang knew about all the bad things you did outside, what would she think? Yi Mengyao gave him a sidelong glance. Of course I'm obedient. This guy is a famous liar in the universe. No one knows how many faces he has, and how many women he has around him. Yu Qiqi looked at Xiaoping in disdain. Ahem, you've all misunderstood. Actually, this is my true face. The real me is actually a simple and kind child. I did those things because I had no other choice. I was forced by the situation. Xiaoping coughed. As for those women around me, they're all wild bees and butterflies. They probably threw themselves at me because they coveted my beauty. I'm a victim. Pui shameless. Yi Mengyao and the rest spat. They knew that this guy was thick-skinned, but they didn't expect it to be to this extent. It was even stronger than the defense of a saint artifact. Other women coveted his beauty. Why didn't this guy ascend to the heavens? He was too shameless. Chapter 2806. By the way, there's something I have to tell you first. It's very serious. I'm afraid it will affect the future of the entire human race. You have to listen carefully. At this moment, Xiaoping's expression turned serious. In order to change the topic, he decided to tell them about what happened in the Abyss world, and the demons' plan to attack the world. Half an hour later, he told them everything in full detail. What? The demons will soon attack the Abyss universe? As expected, after hearing Xiaoping's news, Nangong Wu and the others immediately forgot about pursuing Xiaoping's matter. After all, this was a matter of life and death for all races. They had to put aside their feelings for each other. Once the war broke out, who knew how many lives would be lost? Although no one knew how long the war between the primordial era and the Abyss world had passed. From the historical records, 9 out of 10 houses were empty, and starving people were everywhere. Especially Yi Mengyao. She was not only the saintess of the Soaring Cloud sect, but also the saintess of the elf race. She had a large family behind her, and countless lives were at stake. That's right, there's no doubt about this. Currently, only the invincible saints know about this. It hasn't been announced yet to prevent ordinary people from panicking, Xiaoping said in a low voice. If that's the case, what should we do? Jiang Yara frowned. Of course, she knew how cruel the war would be at the beginning. Not to mention that even saints might fall, ordinary people might even become cannon fodder. Moreover, it was impossible to avoid it. This was a war that affected the entire universe. No life could stay out of it. They would all be swept into the waves. At the same time, although their cultivation had improved rapidly, and they had occasional fortuitous encounters, their strength had only reached the complete stage of the lightning trial. They were still a long way from becoming immortal. Among them, the strongest was Yi Mengyao. With Xiaoping's help, her strength had improved by leaps and bounds. She had already become a near-ancient saint, and comprehended the law of space. However, this kind of strength was still not considered elite. Of course, Jiang Yaru and the others were even weaker. They couldn't protect themselves in the war at all. This is child's play. I'll increase your strength first, and let you all become immortal saints. Xiaoping had already thought of a way. He would first let the people around him become immortal saints. In this way, even if war broke out, they would at least have a strong ability to protect themselves. After all, if a battle were to occur at a critical moment, even Xiaoping would not have the energy to pay attention to the people around him. Therefore, it was better to increase their strength so that they could protect themselves. A few minutes later, Xiaoping took out the immortal fruit, space fruit, time fruit, creation fruit, and even the world fruit, and placed them in front of Nangong Wu and the others. He explained the uses of these fruits to Nangong Wu and the others. It can't be right. Eating an immortal fruit will allow one to become an immortal sage? The success rate is 100%. Yu Qiqi's eyes widened in disbelief. After all, it was extremely difficult for ordinary people to reach the immortal realm. Even if they used up all their resources, there was no way to touch the bottleneck of the immortal realm. In the end, they could only die of old age. But now he could succeed just by eating a fruit. How unbelievable was that? Surface-wise, it seemed very simple. In fact, however, obtaining the everlasting fruit was incomparably difficult. It was countless times more difficult compared to obtaining a sacred artifact. After all, these fruits could only be produced by the world tree. It was a special ability of the world tree. Other than that, there was no other way to produce these fruits. How many people in the entire universe could have the world tree? Therefore, this was an ability unique to Xiaoping. Other sages and other races could not possibly have it. Eating a space fruit will allow one to comprehend the law of space. Eating a time fruit will allow one to comprehend the law of time. Eating a creation fruit will allow one to comprehend the law of creation. This is unbelievable. Yi Mingyao was also shocked. Even though she had seen similar fruits before, she was still shocked when she saw the time fruit that Xiaoping took out. One must know that if ordinary sages wanted to comprehend the law of space and the law of time, they had to fuse their souls with the origin of the universe. Only after a long period of accumulation would they be able to fully comprehend the fragments of the various laws. But now, eating a fruit would allow one to completely comprehend them. How unbelievable was that? However, the reason why these fruits had such an ability was because the fragments of the laws and energy within the fruits were obtained from the sages of the ancient era and the middle era. Each time fruit contained many fragments of time comprehended by the middle era sages. Eating it was equivalent to possessing the lifetime cultivation and information of the laws of the other party. This was equivalent to a saint imparting his wisdom to him, imparting his lifetime's worth of skills to him. Generally speaking, this was almost impossible. After all, when ordinary sages died, their blood essence, energy, and information of the laws would dissipate and return to the origin of the universe. Others could not use it at all. However, the world tree had a way to forcefully intercept it, devour it, fuse it, and condense it into a special fruit. This was the unique and unbelievable ability of the world tree. After devouring it, you will need a period of time to consolidate your cultivation and martial Dao foundation before you can devour the next stage of the fruit. If you jump levels, I'm afraid there will be unpredictable consequences. You must be careful not to advance too quickly. This will be disadvantageous to your cultivation. Xiaoping reminded. For example, after advancing to the immortal sage, one could not jump levels to consume the time fruit and comprehend the law of time. After all, if one did not even comprehend the law of space, how could one comprehend the law of time? Most importantly, the time fruit contained the lifetime cultivation and flesh essence of the Middle Era sages. This kind of energy was not something a mere immortal sage could handle. If one were to forcefully consume it, one's body would explode. This was the so-called going too far is as bad as falling short. Pulling a seedling to help it grow was not a good thing. And got it. Nangong Wu and the others nodded their heads. They had been cultivating for a very long time, so they naturally knew about the taboo of cultivation. Even with the assistance of such a heavenly fruit, they still needed to cultivate bitterly on their own. Only then would they be able to take control of the energy and integrate it without any side effects. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. Nangong Wu, Qiuxiu Suji, Su Mei Jiang Yar Chu Rong, Yu Qiqi and the rest all broke through and reached the immortal sage realm. At the same time, Xiaoping's parents also reached the immortal sage realm and obtained the immortal body. Yi Mingyao also broke through from the near ancient era sage realm to the Middle Era Sage realm. Her strength had increased by leaps and bounds. If this news were to spread, it would definitely shock the entire universe. Sogu website. Chapter 2807. As expected of the mutant fruits born from the World Tree. After learning about Nangong Wu and the others, as well as his parents' cultivation, Xiaoping was very satisfied. The immortal fruit, spatial fruit, time fruit, and other mutant fruits indeed had extraordinary effects. However, this ability did not break the balance of the universe. In fact, it was still difficult for sages to be born. The reason this happened was because the power of the dead sages was transferred to others with the help of the World Tree's plunder ability. In fact, the number of sages in the universe did not increase. It was equivalent to exchanging one for another. The number of sages in the universe might even decrease because of this. This was the unique ability of the World Tree, to plunder heavenly secrets. After becoming an immortal sage, I should have the ability to protect myself. Xiaoping immediately heaved a sigh of relief. As he became stronger, so did his enemies. If the people around him did not have the ability to protect themselves, unpredictable dangers might happen. However, now that they had all become immortal sages, and with the help of these mutant fruits, their cultivation would definitely improve by leaps and bounds, far surpassing the imagination of other sages. Right, where did Xiaojin go? Suddenly, Xiaoping thought of the golden slime. He had brought back a large number of divine artifact fragments from the abyss world to let the golden slime evolve greatly. If the golden slime improved further, it would probably be of more help to him. It might even be able to advance to the divine artifact level, or even stronger. Master. As if sensing Xiaoping's thoughts, the green ox's voice sounded. Xiaojin Tanmenglu and Chong Xiaoqian are currently in the Classic of Mountains and Seas world. Oh, why are they back in the Classic of Mountains and Seas world? Didn't they plan to go somewhere else to play? Xiaoping asked doubtfully. Well, it seems like they ran for a distance. After walking a street, they felt very tired, and didn't want to go anywhere else to play, so they returned to the Classic of Mountains and Seas world to play games. The green ox explained. They said that there's nothing much to go shopping. They wander around the King's Canyon every day, going to all kinds of shopping malls, and buying all kinds of game equipment. They're tired of it. Traveling is also very boring. They often go to all kinds of game worlds, and can see the world without going out. They can also go through the history of various dynasties. There's no need to run around at all. As for delicacies, there's everything in the Classic of Mountains and Seas world. There are all kinds of delicacies and exotic plants that can't be found in the outside world. Xiaoping was speechless. These little guys were really otaku girls. They ran out of strength after a few steps. This time, if it wasn't for going out to fight netizens, they might not go out for the rest of their lives. Boom! At the thought of this, he swept out with his divine senses, and instantly enveloped the entire world of the Classic of Mountains and Seas. He immediately sensed that Tanmenglu, Chong Xiaoqian, Xiaojin, and the others were gathered together. There were also the 5 Lolis from the Gaia race from before. Even the gates of hell were in the same place. It seemed like they had been abducted. At this moment, Tanmenglu, Chong Xiaoqian, Xiaojin, and the 5 Lolis from the Gaia race were gathered together. Xiaomen had accidentally barged into this canyon. Hey, you look unfamiliar. Little girl, are you new here? Tanmenglu immediately noticed the small door, and found it unfamiliar. What? A newcomer? Why aren't you coming to pay your respects to me? Don't you know that I'm the king of this place? Are you not giving me face by not paying me a visit? Chong Xiaoqian jumped out with her hands on her hips, and looked at the small door with a ferocious expression. I am lost. Sorry. I'll leave now. Seeing these 2 people who were like bullies, the small door was almost scared to tears. Why was this place so dangerous? It seemed like she had barged into an incredible place. To be honest, she was stunned when she first arrived at this canyon. These people looked like they hadn't slept for a month. They all had dark circles under their eyes. The negative aura on their bodies was even more terrifying than that of evil spirits. The smell of corruption was even more terrifying than that of demons. She instinctively didn't want to have anything to do with these terrifying creatures. She immediately wanted to break into a run, but she only ran 3 steps before she started to pant. There was no helping it. Her body was too weak, and her athletic ability was severely lacking. Hee, you want to run away after coming here? You don't give me any face at all. What do you think this place is? You can come and go as you please. Chong Xiaoqian was extremely relaxed. She lifted the small door with one hand, as if she was lifting a little chick. Tell me, who are you? What's your name? Tan Menglu interrogated. I'm the gates of hell. My name is Xiao Men. Don't eat me. I don't taste good. The small door was so scared that she started crying. Gates of hell? What a domineering nickname. The 5 little Lolas from the Gaia race were instantly interested. They looked at the small door curiously. No wonder the word door is carved on your forehead. I thought you were some evil person. Chong Xiaoqian was enlightened. You are the evil person. The small door cursed in her heart. Anyone with eyes could tell who was a good person and who was a bad person. Forget it. I don't care what door you are. Are you here to play games? Tan Menglu patted the small door's shoulder and revealed a devilish smile. Seeing such a smile, Chong Xiaoqian couldn't help but shiver. Back then, she had been tricked like this and couldn't escape even now. Games? Why do I want to play games? Are games bad, people? The small door blinked her eyes to express her confusion. She had no concept of games at all, because all her memories had disappeared. The group was speechless. They didn't know how to explain this point. Right, games need bad people who don't listen to us. So we have to beat them up frequently. Beat them up once a day, 24 hours a day. Tan Menglu said. Beat them up when they don't listen? The small door was so frightened that her body trembled. Right, beat them up when they don't listen. Right, are you obedient or disobedient? Tan Menglu casually asked. Yes, of course I am obedient. Who can be more obedient than me? The small door immediately shivered and expressed that she wasn't a bad person. It's good that you are obedient. Since that's the case, let's play games together. Only then can we prove that you are a good person. Those who beat up bad people are good people. We are comrades. Understand? Tan Menglu patted the small door's shoulder in satisfaction. I understand. I will work hard to play games and strive to be a good person. The small door nodded her head repeatedly. It's over, it's over. This fellow is completely finished. Another one has been corrupted. Chong Xiaoqian pitted the small door. Back then she was young and ignorant. She was led into a trap by the demon Tan Menglu. From then on, she walked on this path of no return. Even now she couldn't turn back. When she saw the small door, it was like she saw a lost lamb being led into a trap. From then on she couldn't escape. Chapter 2808. These guys. Seeing this scene, Xiaoping was instantly speechless. These internet addicts were really hopeless. They wanted to pull anyone they saw into their group, as if they were preaching. However, it was not a big deal to let Little Gate play games. At least she could get to know this world, as long as she did not overdo it. Alright, there were also the 5 Gaia Lolas. Originally, he had planned to use the power of the 5 Gaia Lolas to find the legendary Gaia Paradise based on the karma lines on them. However, these Lolas seemed to be planning on staying in the classic of mountains and seas world. They were completely holed up in this place, and it was unknown when they would return to Gaia Paradise. And he could not use force on them, so he could only wait. However, according to the personalities of these Gaia otakus, he would probably have to wait until the end of time. Forget it, let's increase Little Gold's strength first. Thinking of this, Xiaoping ignored Tan Menglu and the other internet addicts. He sent a voice transmission to the golden slime. Little Gold, come over. I have something to discuss with you. Yes, it's Master's voice. Master is looking for me. Little Gold immediately sensed Xiaoping's voice transmission, and she immediately put down the game. Hey, Little Gold, where are you going? Aren't you going to game? Tan Menglu and Chong Xiaoqian looked at Little Gold curiously. I'm not playing anymore. Master is looking for me. Little Gold's figure flashed and soon disappeared from this place. Oh no, Little Gold ran away. What about our team battle? Without Little Gold, We can't beat those cheats, Chong Xiaoqian shouted. Hee hee, what a joke. So what if they cheats? I don't believe we can't deal with those cheats with just our skills. We don't need the power of paywalls, the Gaia Lola shouted. But the power of paywalls is very terrifying. Little Gold reported them once, and all their accounts were banned. We reported them dozens of times, but they ignored us. The red-haired Lola said weakly. Shut up. Don't be corrupted by the power of money. Game elites like us cannot be captives of game money. The golden Lolis clenched her fists. That's right. We can't top up a single cent. We can't let the game company earn a single cent. We'll play for nothing until they go bankrupt. Otherwise we'll lose, the black-haired Lola shouted. But we don't have money. We can't even top up. The green-haired Loli blinked. Shut up. If you don't know how to speak, then don't speak. Isn't it better to be a mute? The group of Lolis was angered half to death. They glared angrily at the green-haired Lolita. This fellow really touched a sore spot. Why was her words so infuriating? Forget it, let's not fight a group battle today. Let's let that group of trash go. Today we need to nurture a new battle power. Tan Minglu patted Little Gate's shoulder and shouted. Little Gate was dumbfounded. He did not know what these bullies who were scarier than demons were talking about. Whoosh! Not long after, Xiao Jin arrived in front of Xiaoping. This was the central palace of the 33 levels of the classic of mountains and seas world. It was also where Xiaoping cultivated in seclusion. At the same time, this place was also Xiaoping's treasury. It contained the treasures he had plundered from various places, including the divine artifact fragments he had seized from the Abyss treasury. Master! Xiao Jin blinked and looked at Xiaoping. Good. You probably haven't evolved in a long time. Now there's some good stuff for you to eat. I guarantee that you'll be very satisfied. Xiaoping pulled Xiao Jin to the deepest part of the treasury. Immediately, the treasury shone with endless golden light. Every divine artifact fragment was filled with powerful sharpness. They even contained traces of divinity. This is a divine artifact fragment. Xiao Jin's eyes widened. She immediately recognized what it was. Her breathing quickened. Even though she had seen countless treasures, divine artifact fragments were still one of the most precious treasures. This was because divine artifact fragments were not things that could be bought with money. They were fragments formed from broken divine artifacts. Only invincible saints had the right to obtain them. Other saints were extremely lucky to have one. It was impossible for them to have many. But now there were so many god artifact fragments in this place. This was simply unimaginable. It was really an eye-opener for her. She looked at her master, Xiaoping, in admiration. With so many divine artifact fragments, he was probably as rich as a country. No, not only could he be as rich as a country, even the treasury of a peak race might not have so many divine artifact fragments. Are they all mine? Xiao Jin looked at Xiaoping. Yes, they're all yours. Eat as much as you can. You have to become the strongest as soon as possible. Xiaoping nodded. Okay. With Xiaoping's permission, Xiao Jin went forward and took out pieces of divine artifact fragments from the ground. She placed them in her mouth and swallowed them in one gulp. Crunch, crunch. It was as if she was eating chocolate. Pieces of divine artifact fragments entered her stomach. Then, she stopped after eating a total of 108 divine artifact fragments. Master, I'm full. Xiao Jin touched her stomach and felt an unprecedented sense of fullness. Powerful divine power was brewing in the depths of her body, flowing into every corner and cell of her body. Even the power of the laws of the divine artifact fragments were all absorbed by the golden slime's body. It seemed to be completely integrated into her body. You're full. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect Xiao Jin to be full after eating only 108 divine artifact fragments. Previously, Xiao Jin's appetite was endless. But thinking about it carefully, this was very normal. After all, these were divine artifact fragments, the true essence of gods. The divine power and the power of laws contained in the materials were not comparable to other materials. Just one divine artifact fragment was priceless. It was unknown how many tons of other materials it was equivalent to. The energy of just one fragment was estimated to be equivalent to the energy of a great thousand world. and Xiao Jin had eaten a total of 108 divine artifact fragments, which was equivalent to the energy of 108 great thousand worlds. This majestic energy was enough to fill any sage to death. Only a special creature in the universe like Xiao Jin could devour and digest so much majestic energy. This was already a miracle. Since ancient times, no golden slime had the opportunity to devour so many divine artifact fragments. If other sages were to find out about this, they would definitely scold Xia Ping for being a prodigal. This was too extravagant. So many divine artifact fragments were eaten by the golden slime alone. If these divine artifact fragments were used for refining and integrated into a divine artifact, it would definitely allow a peerless divine artifact to possess the power of a divine artifact, erupting with world-shaking combat power. Chapter 2809. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, after Little Gold swallowed these divine artifact fragments, it seemed that the golden slime's special ability took effect and quickly digested these divine artifact fragments. The energy of these divine artifact fragments fused into Little Gold's body at a speed visible to the naked eye. Her power was also rising steadily, as if every cell in her body had integrated with a trace of divinity, or even a large amount of divine power. She vaguely emitted the aura of a divine artifact, producing a strange Tao rhythm. Whoosh, with Little Gold's body as the center, a huge energy vortex was produced, forming a golden sphere with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers, all condensed from powerful divine power. Even looking from afar, one could feel the terrifying divine power fluctuation, as if it was distorting this space. At this moment, Little Gold's body was surrounded by this golden energy, and every cell in her body was greedily devouring this golden energy, causing the power of the golden slime's main body to continuously increase. It seemed that at this moment, her body was emitting waves of immortal aura. This is incredible. She can even devour and digest the divine artifact fragments. At this moment, the Black Ox flew over. After seeing Xiao Jin devour the 108 god artifact fragments, it immediately sighed emotionally. Its eyes lit up, and it was extremely excited and amazed. It originally thought that the divine artifact fragments contained immortal characteristics, and even the golden slime would find it difficult to digest. In fact, if it were an ordinary golden slime, it might really not be able to devour the divine artifact fragments. It would treat them as indigestible things, and there would be no changes even if it was eaten, and it would spit them out. But Little Gold was different. After Xia Ping's extremely extravagant training, and even integrated with a trace of Xia Ping's golden crow of hell bloodline, her talent had reached the highest level, and she could be said to be the strongest among the slime race since ancient times. In particular, her body's digestive ability had integrated with the destructive characteristics of the golden crow of hell's flames, making her digestive ability thousands of times stronger than other golden slime. Even her stomach would be burned by the golden crow of hell's flames. It was also because of this that Little Gold could devour and refine these divine artifact fragments so easily. Or if it were other golden slime, even if they obtained so many divine artifact fragments, it would probably be difficult for them to devour and refine them. They could only treat them as useless things, and they would never be able to enhance their own power. Indeed, after devouring these divine artifact fragments, there was no rejection reaction at all. She devoured and digested them all, and completely assimilated all the power. This is an incredible ability. Corinne also flew over, incomparably emotional. What it was most amazed at was the golden slime's ability to assimilate and fuse. After all, there were so many divine artifact fragments, and every divine artifact fragment had different abilities. If he were to forcefully fuse them together, it would cause the different powers within his body to clash, which was a great taboo. For example, a water-type sacred artifact could only devour water-type ores, not fire-type ores. Otherwise, it would cause a conflict between the two attributes. However, due to the special ability of the golden slimes, they were able to assimilate almost all objects in the world. Even if they devoured different god equipment fragments, they would be able to assimilate them perfectly and gain complete control over them. There would not be any conflict of attributes. This was also an ability that countless sacred artifacts would feel envious of. Possessing this ability meant that it possessed limitless growth potential. No matter what kind of treasure it devoured, it would be able to strengthen itself. Oh, that's right. If the divine tool fragment fuses with your body, can it enhance your strength? Xiaoping's heart moved as he looked at Azure Ox and Corinne. If they could increase their strength at the same time, it would naturally be a great thing. Of course, it can increase our power. However, doing so will ruin our chances of leveling up to the divine tier. Azure Ox said in a deep voice. That's right. Although a peerless sacred artifact can fuse with a divine tool fragment, and can even take advantage of this opportunity to possess a part of the might of a divine tool, and display a power far beyond that of an ordinary peerless sacred artifact. Corinne also shook his head and said, but in this way, the level of this divine tool is basically fixed. The growth potential of this peerless sacred artifact will no longer be able to make the peerless sacred artifact undergo a thorough transformation. So that's how it is. Xiaoping nodded his head. He understood what Azure Ox and Corinne were saying. Although a divine tool fragment could enhance the power of a sacred artifact, if a sacred artifact wants to transform into a divine tool, every part of its body must be perfect and flawless. At the same time, it must undergo a transformation, and every part must possess immortal characteristics. However, if a sacred artifact fuses with a divine tool, this imperfection would be destroyed, and it would be completely fixed within the scope of this divine tool fragment, and there would be no way to break through. This was like obtaining the inheritance of a demon god, but it would no longer be able to break through the limits of this demon god. It would forever only be able to reach the highest level that this demon god could possess. And this was also a huge flaw. Of course, many sacred artifacts don't have any chance to be promoted to the level of a divine tool. Therefore, fusing with a divine tool fragment and possessing a part of the power of a divine tool is also an excellent choice. Azure Ox said. Xiaoping nodded his head. This was indeed the case. Not every sacred artifact had the opportunity to be promoted to a sacred artifact. In fact, the vast majority of sacred artifacts didn't have such an opportunity. In that case, it was better to fuse with a divine tool fragment to enhance the power of the main body. In fact, many sacred artifacts in the universe also did this. After fusing with a divine tool fragment, they could display extraordinary power, which was called a half-step divine tool. This was a magic weapon above a peerless sacred artifact, but it was inferior to a true divine tool. However, Azure Ox and Corinne were naturally unwilling to sacrifice their future just to enhance a part of the power. This was a short-sighted behavior, and the gains did not make up for the losses. Moreover, this kind of divine tool fragment fusion also had a huge flaw, and that is, it couldn't be used too many times. After all, the power of a divine tool fragment was really too great. Whether it was the power or the material itself, it was not something that an ordinary sacred artifact could compare with. If used too many times, the power of the divine tool fragment would shatter the material of the sacred artifact itself. Simply put, the sacred artifact wouldn't be able to withstand the power of the divine tool fragment. Perhaps it didn't matter once or twice, but thousands of times, or even hundreds of thousands of times. After accumulating for a long time, the sacred artifact itself would suffer countless injuries, producing numerous cracks. When it reached its limit, the sacred artifact would completely collapse and crack like glass. It seems that the divine tool fragment still can't be casually fused. Forcibly fusing magic weapons that are not of the same level together is probably a big taboo in refining magic weapons. But how long will it take for Xiao Jin's evolution to end? Xiaoping said. At this rate, it will take at least 7 days. Azure Ox and Corin carefully calculated the time. Chapter 28:10. 7 days later. Rumble just at this moment. The huge golden sphere that had wrapped around Xiao Jin in the center of the square began to tremble violently and buzz. The vibration seemed to cause the frequency of the void to change. It was as if the entire world of the 33 heavens was shaking. Dong! In an instant, the huge golden sphere shone brightly and pierced through the golden sphere. The sphere was riddled with holes and shattered like a glass ball. With a few cracking sounds, these condensed energy fragments fell to the ground, creating a deep pit. Then, Little Gold's figure suddenly appeared in this square. Is the transformation complete? Xia Ping, who had been cultivating, immediately came out. With a flash, he arrived near the central square, and happened to see Little Gold walking out of the golden sphere. At that moment, Little Gold emitted an extremely powerful power that shook the 33 heavens. Even the world of the classic of mountains and seas could not withstand this terrifying aura. Whoosh, she stood where she was, and the golden energy fragments on the ground immediately turned into golden liquid. As if they were alive, they quickly fused with Little Gold's body. Not a single drop was wasted. Her power was also increasing at a geometrical rate. Vaguely, her body was emitting traces of immortal characteristics, as if she had a huge amount of divine power. At the same time, dense nomological veins appeared in her body. They seemed to be engraved with hundreds of perfect nomological laws. And there were even many special Great Tao nomological laws. It was because Little Gold had such a nomological origin in her body that she could easily communicate with the universe's origin and unleash incredible power. She has already advanced to the level of a peerless sacred artifact. Xia Ping was immediately amazed. He could sense the immense power that Little Gold contained. It seemed that even he might not be able to match up to Little Gold's current power. Little Gold could probably easily contend with primordial saints. It could even wrestle with invincible saints. This speed of evolution was simply too fast. It was practically leapfrogging. However, this was how golden slimes evolved. They were not like humans, who needed to comprehend some nomological laws. They only needed to devour various special ores and materials to quickly advance. However, this also had a huge drawback, and that was that it was extremely reliant on resources. Without enough resources, it would be impossible to advance in this lifetime. It could be said that raising a golden slime was very costly, and not something an ordinary family could afford. No, it is not just a peerless sacred artifact, it is already a half-step divine artifact. It is only a step away from advancing to the divine artifact rank. Corinne and Azure Ox also moved upon hearing the news. At this moment, they were extremely excited as they looked at Goldie, who had just broken out of its shell. This was because in their eyes, Xiao Jin's existence was simply a miracle. It was the path for Xiao Jin to advance from a supreme saint artifact to a god artifact. If Little Gold could level up, then they might be able to find their own way to level up to a divine artifact. Master. At this time Little Gold opened her eyes. She had a pair of golden eyes, and the depths of her pupils seemed to be engraved with dense nomological patterns, as though they contained endless nomological mysteries. Whoosh! In the next second, she transformed into a 3-feet-long golden sword with dense nomological patterns on it. It instantly flew above Xia Ping's right hand. In an instant, Xia Ping immediately sensed a huge amount of magical power information being instilled into him by this golden sword. They were all the magical powers that the golden slime had obtained after advancing. Previously, the golden slime had 11 kinds of magical powers, which were myriad changes, swallow everything, earth body, invincible earthquake, instant recovery, devour soul, mighty thunderbolt, heavenly crystal body, absolute space, and the last sea god authority. The power of these 11 magical powers had increased by several levels, and had undergone a huge transformation. However, in addition to this, she had 2 more magical powers, increasing the number of magical powers to 13. Magical power number 12, Space-Time Sword Formation. As long as the power of the golden slime is stimulated, it can split into billions of golden flying swords, and countless golden flying swords will form a huge sword formation. Once the sword formation is unleashed, it will form a sword Dao domain that can instantly confine space-time. The enemy in the domain will immediately suffer a devastating blow and penetrate everything. Magical power number 13, God-slaying power. This is a special kind of power that was born from 108 pieces of divine artifact fragments. It devoured the special energy of the divine artifact of destruction. Using this power, it can even slay gods. What? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He could feel the power of the golden slime at the moment. It was a huge improvement that far exceeded his imagination. Especially the two new divine abilities, each of which was incomparably powerful. Among them, the god-slaying power made him feel a terrifying power brewing. Because according to the golden slime's senses, this power was actually attached to the divine artifact fragments, and not something that the divine artifact fragments themselves could possess. And the reason why the divine artifact had shattered was because of this destructive power. Even after countless eras, this destructive power was still attached to the divine artifact fragments. Of course, this destructive power was very weak, and it was almost undetectable. Only a special creature like the golden slime could assimilate all kinds of energy, and even assimilate this destructive power, making it its own. In the end, it gave birth to the god-slaying power. You must be joking. Can this power really slay gods? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He could indeed sense that the golden longsword contained a terrifying, destructive energy. However, the energy was too weak, and it was only a trace. This power could probably only support him for one strike. After that strike, it would probably take a long time for this strand of god-slaying power to recover. Even so, this was still a trump card that could play an incredible role at critical moments. However, he could not verify if this power could really slay gods. After all, there were no gods that he had killed yet. This was like creating a dragon saber, only to find out that the true dragons in the world had long gone extinct, and there was no way to kill them even if he wanted to. Although I can't kill gods, I wonder if it can kill invincible saints. Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat. If the golden slime had devoured the divine artifact fragments and obtained this power, it might have been able to slash the 3 demigod angels. If this power could kill gods, then killing demigods would probably not be a problem. Interesting. What is this power that can destroy divine artifacts and kill gods? Xiaoping was very curious, but he knew that the golden slime had assimilated an incredible power. Sogu website. Chapter 28:11. Another few days passed. Xiaoping finally understood Xiao Jin's current power. It had indeed reached the level of a half-step divine artifact. It was only one step away from being comparable to a true divine artifact. Xiao Jin would probably be able to transform into a divine artifact with an opportunity, increasing its power countless times over. Even though it hadn't transformed yet, with the terrifying power of a half-step divine artifact, and the use of god-slaying power, it still made its power extremely terrifying. It could be said that the devouring of the divine artifact fragment was very successful, allowing Xiao Jin to advance to a new level. Since everything has been arranged, it seems that I'll have to find a place to cultivate and continue increasing my power. Xiaoping touched his chin. His current power was considered quite good. He could protect himself from the attacks of an invincible saint with his own power alone. He could even use the power of a divine artifact to heavily injure his enemies. Even so, it was still difficult for him to kill an invincible saint. After all, invincible saints were not that easy to kill. Their ability to survive could be said to be unparalleled in the universe. Although many invincible saints had fallen in the intense war of the primordial era, a considerable number of them had survived. Moreover, they were the main force, standing on the front lines. From this, one could see the invincible saint's ability to survive. As such, he had to continue increasing his power. Otherwise, there was no guarantee that no accidents would happen in the future. Most importantly, there was the great enemy of the angel race. That mysterious master still made him unable to eat or sleep in peace. It seemed that if he did not keep his guard up, he might be ambushed by the angel race. Master. At this moment, Luna's voice was heard. What's wrong? Luna. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He knew that Luna, who was in hell, would not contact him if nothing happened. Something big must have happened in hell. There's a problem in the burning hell. A large number of demons are attacking the burning hell. There are many primordial demons among them. Luna's voice was heard. Luna's voice could be heard, but her voice was still very calm. To her, losing the burning hell wasn't a big deal. However, the burning hell was her home. She could not let other demons occupy it so easily. What's going on? Xiaoping frowned. He remembered that after the attack of the void monsters, there shouldn't be many powerful demons around the Green Lotus Hell. Normally speaking, no demon would attack a medium hell plane like the burning hell. After all, the Hell of the Green Lotus was a high-level hellish plane, and was in the process of evolving into a demon god plane. It was huge, and there wasn't enough time to just take over the Hell of the Green Lotus. How could there be any powerful fiend devils invading the burning hell? It's like this. Then, Luna told him everything that had happened in the Blue Lotus Hell. I see. Upon hearing Luna's words, Xiaoping immediately knew what had happened. Ever since he'd left Hell, the Hell of the Green Lotus had undergone tremendous changes. Word of what had happened in the Hell of the Green Lotus had quickly spread to many of the nearby high-level hell planes. This also attracted the interest of many high-level evil demons. They sent powerful evil demons to the Green Lotus Hell in an attempt to seize a large portion of the Green Lotus Hell. There were even demigod-level demons in the Hell of the Green Lotus. Although they had run away out of fear of the void monsters, they had returned after hearing that the Hell of the Green Lotus was fine. However, there was no way the evil demons that had just taken over the territory would give it to the evil demons that had originally occupied the territory. Hence, an extremely intense battle broke out between the new and old evil demon overlords. Even demigod-level evil demons fought each other. The battle was extremely intense. Fortunately, the Hell of the Green Lotus was extremely powerful. Even if demigod-level evil demons attacked, they wouldn't be able to harm the Hell of the Green Lotus at all. Every inch of the Hell of the Green Lotus territory was extremely sturdy. After the demigod-level evil demons dueled, they ended up in a draw. In order to avoid further damage, both sides would be injured, and the other evil demons would take advantage of them. Hence, they agreed that demigod-level evil demons wouldn't interfere. They would use their own subordinates to determine the victor. Then, they would decide who could occupy more territory in the Hell of the Green Lotus. Therefore, the fiends of the countless mid-level and low-level hell planes near the Hell of Green Lotus were out of luck. They were all captured by the fiend gods' organizations and forced to join their own organizations. After all, the faction that had more evil demons would have a higher chance of winning. The mid-level hell plane, the burning hell, was naturally targeted. Hence, the evil demon factions launched a large-scale attack, as if they were capturing slaves. They attempted to capture more evil demons in the burning hell. Interesting. They actually dared to attack the burning hell. They really don't know what's good for them. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a hint of coldness. To be honest, the burning hell was extremely important. This was because the void passageway that connected the modern universe and hell was above the burning hell. If the burning hell was taken away by other evil demons, wouldn't that mean that the passageway to enter hell was in the hands of other evil demons? This was something he couldn't tolerate. Of course, if he wasn't strong enough, he would think of other ways and endure for now. However, with his current strength, there was no need for him to endure. If they dared to come, he would just kill them and eradicate them. There was no need to reason with those evil demons. When will they start attacking the burning hell? Xiaoping asked. Because we received the news late. They will probably start attacking tomorrow, Luna said. I understand. If they want to fight, then let's fight and keep them in the burning hell. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He happened to be lacking a large number of rare fruits and fertilizer for the world tree. These evil demons actually dared to attack him. They really didn't know how to write the word death. Half a day later, Xiaoping directly passed through the void passageway and arrived at the burning hell. Returning to hell once again, he could smell the smell of sulfur in the surroundings. It was a feeling that he hadn't felt for a long time. The golden crow of hell bloodline in his body was stirring. It was as if every cell of the golden crow of hell was breathing, swallowing the source energy of hell. After advancing to the immemorial realm, he felt that his understanding of hell's source energy had become deeper. Master. At this moment, Luna appeared in front of Xiaoping. She emitted a powerful dark aura, that seemed to distort the void and corrode this space-time region. Seems like you've improved a lot recently. Xiaoping could sense Luna's current strength. After not seeing her for a period of time, she had actually advanced to the ancient sage realm. Clearly, she had already grasped the law of creation. Such strength had improved by leaps and bounds. During this period of time, with the help of the war with the demigod evil demons, Luna had probably devoured the power of countless evil demons. 2K Reading Network. Chapter 28:12. My lord. A large number of elite demons appeared behind Luna. They were all Xiaoping's dependents. Affected by the infernal Golden Crow's bloodline, they were forcibly transformed into the demon god's dependents. Their strength also increased by leaps and bounds. Each of them was ferocious. Their bodies were filled with the terrifying power of flames. It was as if their blood was burning. Clearly, the strength of these demons had also increased rapidly during this period of time. Moreover, the increase in strength and the influence of the bloodline had caused the temperament of these demons to undergo earth-shattering changes. If it were the demons from before, they would have packed their bags and prepared to run when they heard that a demigod demon faction was planning to attack the burning hell. But now, not only did they not have any intention of running, but they were also extremely fanatical and fearless. Each of them wanted to fight to the death with a terrifying flame burning in the depths of their hearts. Luna, what's the background of the enemy? Xiaoping asked. He didn't ask in detail before, so he wanted to know the general situation. The enemy is the demigod demon Felipe's demon army. There are more than 10 million of them, but Felipe didn't come this time. Instead, it's his lord-level demons, namely the primordial demon Cameron and the other demons. Luna knew the information like the back of her hand. It said that there are a total of 49 primordial demons attacking the burning hell this time, led by the primordial demon Cameron. The reason why they sent so many of them is to make sure nothing goes wrong. They want to sweep through the many medium hell planes and capture all the demons as slaves. Speaking up to here, she paused and continued. This Cameron isn't a big deal. The problem is that if we kill Cameron and the other primordial demons, their leader, the demigod demon Felipe, will probably come personally. She was only worried about the demigod demon Felipe. The other demons weren't a threat. It doesn't matter. Even if that demigod demon Felipe comes personally, I'll kill him. Xiaoping clenched his fists murderous. Rumble. At this moment, the entire burning hell shook violently, as if it had encountered a huge impact. The boundary outside the burning hell seemed to have been hit by a powerful force, causing a huge earthquake that shook back and forth. Those demons are coming ahead of time. Luna said in a low voice, a fierce glint in her eyes. Yes, let's go meet them. Xiaoping was expressionless. Under the perception of his divine sense, a dense horde of demons had appeared outside the burning hell. Their numbers had reached tens of millions, and it was like an army pressing down on the border. Among them, there were 49 primordial demons, and they were scattered all over the place, unscrupulously exuding the tyrannical aura of a world domain. It seemed as if the tyrannical power of the world domain was fiercely colliding with the burning hell. Fortunately, Xiaoping had modified the burning hell previously. He had set up a series of restrictive formations, forming a huge spatial barrier that had a certain degree of defensive power. Otherwise, this group of evil demons would have rushed up to kill, burn, and plunder during the collision just now. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, Xiaoping, Luna, and the many burning abyss devils around them flickered and appeared outside the burning hell's spatial barrier. They faced the abyss devil army from afar, and their auras clashed fiercely. Are you the demon lords of this middle hell plane? My name is Cameron, and I'm a demon lord under Felipe. I'm here on Lord Felipe's orders to recruit you to fight for the great Felipe. The primordial demon Cameron roared angrily and looked down at Xiaoping and the others. Now, I order you to quickly open the spatial barrier of this hell plane, so that our army can enter unimpeded and unharmed. If you obstruct us even a little, you'll definitely die without a burial. You'll have to weigh the consequences yourself. There was a hint of ferocity in his eyes, and he ordered Xia Ping, as if he was ordering his subordinates. Rumble. At this moment, tens of millions of evil demons appeared behind him, and each of them exuded an aura that distorted the void. The terrifying demonic aura filled the void of hell, forming an absolute domain. All of them were glaring at the burning hell with murderous intent and bloodshot eyes. They seemed to be drooling over the burning hell, and couldn't wait to enter the burning hell to burn, kill, and plunder. They were only waiting for the order from their leader. Wait, so what if I don't open the barrier? What can you do to me? Xia Ping looked indifferently at the group of evil demons. He was very calm, and there were no ripples in his heart. Impudent. To the side, an ancient demon angrily shouted. What kind of attitude is that? What kind of tone is that? You dare to speak to Sir Cameron in such a manner? What kind of propriety is this? Hurry up and kneel down, kowtow 3 times and kowtow 9 times, and beg for Sir Cameron's forgiveness. Scram. This is the burning hell, my territory. I advise you to hurry up and leave. Don't make me angry, or you won't have a good ending. Xia Ping tried to dissuade them. Pig-headed. Another evil demon flew into a rage. Aunt, you're courting death. Do you know that? I gave you a chance to live like a dog, but you didn't cherish it. You actually dared to resist. You're courting death. Lord Cameron, don't waste words with this brat. He's refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Let's take advantage of this opportunity to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. Slaughter all the fiends in the burning hell. Let's set an example for the fiends of the infernal plane. This is the result of trying to resist our fiend army. That's right. These country bumpkins won't shed tears until they see the coffin. If we don't kill them all, they won't know our name. The numerous evil demons seethed with killing intent as they glared at Xia Ping. They felt as if their dignity had been greatly insulted. A puny country bumpkin dared to resist their army? He even dared to show them disdain. If this wasn't an insult, then what was? If they didn't kill this troublemaker, then wouldn't the rest of the hell plane resist even more fiercely? How were they supposed to complete Lord Cameron's mission? Their killing intent soared, and they were ready to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. Attack. Slaughter all the evil demons in this hell plane. Capture the leaders, and behead them as a warning to the rest of the world. Killing intent surged from the primordial demon Cameron. The void of hell around him was suddenly filled with killing intent. The heavens and earth turned upside down as dragons and snakes rose from the ground. Sword come. Xia Ping made a grabbing motion, and a meter-long golden sword appeared in his right hand. Shockingly, Goldie had transformed into a golden sword that had traversed the void. With the golden sword in hand, a terrifying aura and power erupted from him, forming a sword domain that suppressed the entire hell plane. Third sect leader. Chapter 28:13. Spacetime Shackle. Xia Ping held the golden sword in his hand, and a powerful world domain power spread out. It was not just one world domain, but 9 world domains. Rumble, world after world came crashing down, covering hundreds of thousands of light years of spacetime. In an instant, the hell spacetime was completely shackled, and it was almost impossible to move. What? The expressions of the primordial demons, led by Carmelo, changed drastically. They sensed that the space-time they were in had been completely shackled, and even time seemed to have stopped. At the same time, they found that they could not use any power, and they could not even spread out their divine senses. They were completely shackled in this area. Impossible, we are primordial demons. How can we be shackled so easily? Carmelo, and the other primordial demons, found it hard to believe that such a thing could happen. If even the primordial demons were in such a state, there was no need to mention the other demons. Even their minds had stopped working, and they had no idea what was happening. Only the immemorial fiends were able to break free from the shackles. But that was all they could do. However, it was only natural that Xia Ping could do such a thing. The world domain he had was already far beyond that of primordial saints of the same level. Even primordial saints could not compare to it, not to mention that he had 9 world domains. The power of these 9 world domains stacked together was not as simple as 1 + 1. It could easily shackle spacetime in an instant, and primordial saints could not break free at all. Vanish. Xiaoping had no interest in explaining anything to these demons. He circulated the world power in his body and infused it into the golden sword, immediately activating the supreme sword Dao divine ability, space-time sword array. In an instant, the golden sword immediately split into billions of tiny golden flying swords, forming a terrifying sword array. Countless sword chi spread out, covering the hell space-time. In the next second, the space-time sword array moved. Swish, swish, swish. Hundreds of millions of golden sword chi blasted out, seemingly flying out from the cracks in space-time. They were indestructible and contained terrifying sword Dao power. Each sword chi could pierce through space-time. Arg! Immediately, Carmelo and the other primordial demons were unable to even struggle. Their bodies were immediately pierced through, and the terrifying sword chi instantly obliterated their souls. Moreover, it wasn't just the primordial demons. Many of the demons that had been dispatched this time couldn't escape the space-time sword chi's wrath. All of them were minced into dregs, and not even their bones were left. Boom! Immediately, all the demons that invaded the burning hell were annihilated. Countless corpses of demons floated in the hell's void, like a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Too strong. Sir Lord is so strong that it makes one's hair stand on end. He destroyed the invading primordial demon with a single sword strike. Just what kind of martial power is this? As expected of the Lord with the demon god's bloodline, we followed the right boss. When the devils of the burning hell saw this, all of them were amazed. Although they did not run away in fear when facing the enemy, they were more or less clueless. Even if they fought, there would definitely be a large number of casualties. But now, without expending a single soldier, they actually annihilated this group of invading demons, and it was truly beyond their expectations. All of them were extremely excited, feeling that they had followed the right boss. Although they already knew that devils with the demon god's bloodline would definitely stand at the peak of hell, but they didn't expect that they would obtain such strength so quickly. As expected of Master, Luna looked at Xiaoping with admiration. However, she also felt that it was natural. No one knew her master's strength better than her. These puny devils couldn't be compared to him at all. Stop pretending to be dead. Stand up. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back, calmly looking at the primordial demon, lying quietly in the pile of corpses. Because the invading devils weren't completely annihilated, there was still one primordial demon that hadn't died. In fact, Xiaoping had purposely left it alive. His goal was to let it go back and inform him. Spare me, spare my life. This matter has nothing to do with me. It really has nothing to do with me. Hearing this, the primordial demon shivered. Knowing that it couldn't hide it anymore, it hurriedly jumped up. When it saw that all of its companions had died, it was immediately scared out of its wits. Its entire body couldn't stop trembling in fear. At this moment, the primordial demon knelt in the void, begging for mercy and crying bitterly. Now it was simply regretting its actions. If it had known earlier, it wouldn't have followed Camaro out. Before they even started to sweep through the medium plane of hell, the army that it sent out this time was annihilated. What a miserable and unlucky thing this was. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the primordial demon indifferently. I have another use for you. I want you to go back and tell Felipe not to send more devils to invade my burning hell. Otherwise, I'll kill every devil I see. Even Felipe will be slaughtered. What? Hearing this, the primordial demon jerked its head up and looked at Xiaoping in disbelief. Was this guy completely crazy? He actually dared to provoke Demon Felipe. Who didn't know that Demon Felipe was a demigod devil? Even in a high-level plane of hell, he was a king-level devil. He was a peerless expert that reigned over trillions of devils and controlled the lives and deaths of countless devils. But this guy actually dared to provoke Felipe. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? It couldn't believe that this kid actually dared to speak to Felipe in such a tone. What are you looking at? Hurry up and scram. Do you want to die? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and looked at the primordial demon. His body emitted a faint murderous aura. He didn't conceal it at all. It was as if he would kill the primordial demon if it didn't leave. I'll leave now. I'll leave now. Feeling the dense murderous aura, the primordial demon no longer acted arrogantly. It immediately shivered and hurriedly ran away. But even so, it looked back 3 times with every step it took. It was afraid that Lin Fan was lying to it, and would kill it from a distance while it wasn't paying attention. In fact, there were quite a number of devils with such a bad taste. On the surface, it seemed as if they had let the other party go. But in reality, when they let the other party go, they would ruthlessly kill the other party. It was all for the sake of seeing the other party's expression change from hope to despair. But after it fled far away, it realized that Xiaoping still hadn't made a move. Immediately, it believed Xiaoping's words and sped up to escape from the burning hell. In the blink of an eye, it had left this extremely dangerous place. Chapter 28:14. One day later, Cameron and the other primordial fiends had gone to sweep through the middle hells to capture able-bodied men, only to be defeated by a fiend from one of the middle hells. The news spread like wildfire throughout the Hell of the Green Lotus, and many other fiend factions learned of it. No matter how you looked at it, Cameron had been Felipe's trusted general, and he'd brought his elite troops with him. But now he'd fallen. It could be said that Cameron's death had dealt a heavy blow to Felipe's forces, putting him at a disadvantage in the struggle for control of the Hell of the Green Lotus. Haha, stupid Carmelo. I've long since seen that guy as an eyesore. He's always pretending to be a decent person, relying on the power of the invincible demon Felipe to commit all sorts of evil deeds, looking down on demons everywhere. Now he's been killed by other fiends, and he can't even escape. This is retribution. One of the fiends laughed heartily when he heard the news. He felt like he'd finally gotten his revenge. I wonder what Felipe's expression will be like when he learns of this. His trusted general has died. If he doesn't get revenge, he'll lose all his face. Some of the fiends were gloating. He's definitely going to send an army. If Felipe doesn't get revenge, he'll lose all his face. But what's the origin of the burning hell? How could it be so terrifying? Even Cameron and the other primordial fiends died there. Some of the fiends were curious about the burning hell. I'm not sure. I've asked the fiends who are very familiar with the Hell of the Green Lotus, but none of them know where it came from. It seems to have appeared out of nowhere. Actually, that's normal. There are just too many middle hells. They're like the stars in the sky. Even the most familiar fiends can't know every middle hells like the back of their hands. But isn't this burning hell a bit too terrifying? It's just a middle hells. Normally speaking, a hells like this can only give birth to primordial fiends. But now, it's even giving birth to a primordial fiend. Is there something special about the burning hell? There must be something special about it. Take the Green Lotus Hell for example. All of the high-level demons have clearly fled, and it's fated to be devoured by the void monsters and disappear from this hell. But who would have thought that the group of void monsters that entered the Hell of the Green Lotus would all die? Their flesh, blood, essence, and origin would fuse with the Hell of the Green Lotus and promote the evolution of the Hell of the Green Lotus. The word fate is simply too wonderful for words. It can only be said that the Hell of Green Lotus is hiding a great secret. Otherwise, something like this would not have happened. From the looks of it, it's not just the Hell of the Green Lotus that has a great secret. Many of the medium hell planes around it might also have a great secret. Looks like coming to the Hell of the Green Lotus was the right decision. If I can find some secrets, I might be able to advance to the demon god stage. Then, should we go to the burning hell to take a look and probe its secrets? Don't act rashly. It seems that Felipe intends to mobilize his army. Don't recklessly confront Felipe. After all, when Felipe is in a rage, he is not someone to be trifled with. We can only wait and see. Many demons discussed among themselves. They were all extremely curious about the burning hell, this medium hell plane. At the same time, they were also slightly fearful of it. They wanted to wait and see. After all, the power that could bury the immemorial demon Camaro and his demon army was not to be underestimated. At this time, somewhere in the Hell of the Green Lotus, it was the castle where the invincible demon Felipe was. At this moment, the ancient demon had already run back from the burning hell. He came before the invincible demon Felipe and reported everything that had happened. "What did you say?" After listening to the ancient demon's report, the invincible demon Felipe's eyes widened. He roared angrily, "That lord of the burning hell, Feng Du, is so arrogant. He killed all the demons except for you. Is it because he wanted you to come back and inform me, so that I would know that Feng Du was the one who did this?" He was so angry that he was about to explode. He was not even this angry. After all, he was the invincible demon Felipe. He controlled an army of hundreds of millions of demons. He had unparalleled battle strength. Even a slight breath was enough to cause the hell of the Green Lotus to catch a cold for 3 days. Countless forces were shocked. Who knew how many demons would tremble when they heard Felipe's name, not daring to move? But this lord of the burning hell, Feng Du, not only was he not afraid of him, he seemed to be afraid that he did not know that this kid was the one who did this. He had killed most of the demons, leaving only one alive. His goal was to inform him of this matter. How rampant and insolent was this kind of behavior? He had never seen such an arrogant demon in his life. That's right. That demon Feng Du is arrogant and despotic. He doesn't care about you at all. That kid is easy to deal with. If you still dare to invade, you will even kill the king. His head will be hung on the city gate for 3 years. If I didn't endure humiliation and go through fire to tell Lord Felipe about this matter, I would have killed myself on the city wall. The ancient demon cried bitterly and added fuel to the fire. At the same time, he also expressed his loyalty. "Feng Du," the invincible demon Felipe said angrily. "Insolent brat, you still want to cut off my head? I'll send my army to the border and burn the hell. I want to see how this brat will cut off my head." He was infuriated to the extreme. He had never seen a demon provoke him like this in his life. This was the first time Devil Feng Du had done so. He yearned to tear the punk into pieces. But Lord Felipe, that Devil Feng Du is very sinister. You need to reconsider. The ancient demon was a little traumatized. He did not wish to provoke the terrifying Devil Feng Du. "Shut up!" Invincible demon Felipe roared. "Reconsider? Since when do I, grim demon Felipe, need to think thrice? Who in the entire hell void can kill me, invincible demon Felipe? What a joke. I'll kill him now. Let's see what capabilities he has to provoke me." He had already made up his mind to eradicate the arrogant and despotic burning hell. If he did not get back at Feng Du, how was he to survive in the Green Lotus hell in the future? Furthermore, he was an invincible demon that had comprehended the laws of life and death. He was a half-step fiend celestial. Under normal circumstances, only he could kill demons. No other demons could kill him. Therefore, he was not afraid of anything. "Set off. All demons follow me. Let's wipe out the burning hell." Invincible demon Felipe roared angrily. Yes, many abyss devils roared. Chapter 28:15. Several days later, not far from the burning hell, a huge black fleet suddenly appeared. They set off from the Green Lotus hell and finally arrived near the burning hell. This black fleet had over 100 battleships. However, they weren't super battleships like the ones in the universe. Instead, they were ordinary hell spaceships that could withstand the power of the hell monsoons. To hell demons, spaceships were only tools to protect them from the hell monsoons. They weren't responsible for their main combat capabilities. They were the strongest combat power. Moreover, they didn't have this technology. Ancient hell runes appeared on these black spaceships. They emitted a profound aura, and they looked like terrifying hell beasts. Each spaceship was thousands of kilometers long. They were extremely dark, as though they had devoured all the light around them. They silently hid in the void of hell and didn't make a single sound. Usually, when these spaceships got close, the demons wouldn't even notice that they had arrived. However, these spaceships emitted a powerful demonic aura. They didn't seem to have any intention of concealing it. They shook the void of hell and were ferocious and murderous. Any demon that saw this fleet would tremble in fear and feel that a great disaster was about to befall them. This fleet was led by invincible Felipe. This time, He had led most of the elite demons under his command. It was as though he had turned out in full force. Clearly, he was going to personally kill the chickens to scare the monkeys. At this moment, there seemed to be a huge black skull in front of the largest black spaceship. It was more than 10 times the size of the other spaceships. Invincible Demon Felipe and many primordial demons were on this black spaceship. "We've arrived, Lord Felipe. The burning hell isn't far ahead." At this moment, a primordial demon stepped forward and said to Invincible Demon Felipe, "That's the burning hell? Is this really just a mid-level hell plane?" Invincible Demon Felipe narrowed his eyes and revealed a cold glint as he looked at the burning hell in the distance. Right now, the burning hell was very eye-catching in the dark void of hell. It was especially huge, and it emitted a scorching light. Boundless flames were burning fiercely. From afar, it looked like a blazing sun. It emitted boundless heat, as though it was the only existence in the nearby hell. One could imagine how conspicuous the burning hell was right now. The other intermediate hellish planes paled in comparison to the burning hell. Because of this, the burning hell had been the first target of Cameron and the other high fiends. What an enormous inferno hell! It's filled with the essence energy of hell, and it's brimming with life force. Just how much of hell's essence has this inferno hell devoured? Many demons could not help but exclaim when they saw the burning hell. They were experienced and knowledgeable demons who had seen countless intermediate hell planes, and even some advanced hell planes. But in terms of medium hell planes, none could compare to the burning hell. In fact, some high hell planes might not even have such phenomena. It was as if the infernal hell would rise to the level of a higher hellish plane sooner or later. Who would have thought that such a powerful and mysterious medium hell plane would appear in such a desolate place? Some demons couldn't help but exclaim, "Good stuff. This is really good stuff." Just how many precious hellish materials and treasures could be nurtured in a place with such rich hellish essence energy? As long as we can loot it, we'll definitely make a fortune. That's not all. Every demon born in a hell plane like this has a rich demonic bloodline. Their potential is limitless. If we sell them, they'll definitely be worth cities. Fools. Why sell them? Of course we'll keep them as slaves and train them. In the future, they'll definitely become elite demons and fight for us. The high fiends discussed animatedly. Their eyes shone with greed, as though they wanted nothing more than to enter the burning hell and plunder all the treasures and fiends within. What a bunch of idiots. What capturing fiends and plundering treasures? These are all thoughts of drying up the fish pond. This is too much of a waste. A high fiend couldn't help but shout in excitement. Do you know what hell plane this is? It's on the verge of ascending to a higher hell plane. If we can control the burning hell's essence and refine it, we'll become its ruler. Then when the burning hell ascends to a higher hell plane, we'll be its rulers. He clenched his fists. What? His words were earth-shattering. The high fiends couldn't help but tremble. Ruler of a higher hell plane was a shocking title. Even in the current hell, there weren't many demons who could become the ruler of a higher hell plane. After all, it was far too difficult to obtain the acknowledgement of a high-level hellish plane essence. In fact, it was practically impossible. But the middle hell plane was different. Even high fiends could easily refine the origin of a middle hell plane. If the middle hell plane ascended to a higher hell plane, then the ruler of the middle hell plane would ascend with it. At that time, they would definitely gain endless benefits. If high fiends refined it, then they could ascend to the invincible saint realm. If invincible demons refined it, then they could instantly grow to the fulfillment of the invincible realm and reach the half-step demon god realm. They would be the strongest experts in hell at present. In fact, many demons understood this and knew how to do it. The problem was that it was too difficult for a middle hell plane to ascend to a higher hell plane. It had never happened since ancient times. There were as many middle hell planes as there were stars in the sky. Those who could ascend to a higher hell plane could be counted on one's fingers since ancient times. Therefore, finding a middle hell plane that had a chance to ascend to a higher hell plane was no different from finding a needle in a haystack. It was like hitting the jackpot. My God, it's true. We almost wasted God's gift. If we integrate the burning hell's essence into our souls and wait for it to ascend, we'll be in trouble. Conquer, conquer. We must conquer the burning hell and seize its essence. The demons roared, all extremely excited. They weren't fools. How could they not know that this was an unprecedented opportunity? When they saw the burning hell, it was as if they saw a huge treasure. Chapter 28:16. At this moment, some of the demons who had followed Demon Felipe's fleet here in the infernal hell saw this as well. Before, the infernal hell was just a nameless mid-level hell plane. But now that it was revealed to the demons, they were shocked. Damn it! This is a mid-level hell that can be promoted to a high-level hell plane. One of the demons shrieked. No, we can't let Felipe succeed. If he refines the infernal hell's origin and promotes the infernal hell to a high-level hell plane, we'll be in big trouble. Who can be Felipe's match? One of the demons bellowed. It could imagine that if the invincible demon Felipe took control of the infernal hell and became the master of a high-level hell plane, he would be able to sweep through the invincible demons in the Green Lotus Hell. The invincible demon Felipe's strength would also rise to an unprecedented realm, which was definitely not a good thing for the other demon forces. Stop it. We have to stop Demon Felipe. We can't let him get the infernal hell. The problem is, how do we stop him? He's an invincible demon. If we go out, we'll be slapped to death instantly. Go back and report this. Let the invincible demons come and stop him. Many of the demon scouts discussed animatedly. They also felt the seriousness of this matter. Originally, they were only here as observers. But who would have thought that they would actually discover such a secret? Fortunately, they had come to investigate. Otherwise, if Demon Felipe were to soar to great heights, the other demons would have to look up to him in the future. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The scouting demons couldn't sit still any longer. They quickly left the place and returned to the Green Lotus Hell to report. There's actually a mid-level hell plane here that can be promoted to a high-level hell plane. This is unbelievable. Demon Felipe's eyes gleamed coldly. The origin of the infernal hell is unbelievably thick. It's as if it's blessed by the origin of hell. Could it be that Fengdu, who killed Cameron and the other demons, was willing to risk his life to fight me, Demon Felipe, for this eternal opportunity? But no matter what this brat is thinking, I, Felipe, have come to this place to sweep through everything and kill the chicken to scare the monkey. All the treasures and benefits belong to me, and any demon that stands in my way must die. It clenched its fists, its body exuding boundless killing intent that shook the heavens. Not only did it want revenge, but it also wanted to improve its cultivation base. It was determined to get its hands on the essence of the burning hell. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The spaceships quickly approached the burning hell. They sped up, trying to break through the defense of the burning hell and kill all the demons inside. Boom! But at this moment, a golden claw reached out from the depths of the burning hell. Golden lava energy condensed into a tangible substance, incessantly burning with scorching flames. This was the infernal golden crow claw. Xia Ping, who was sitting in the center of the burning hell, attacked at this moment. He clawed out from the inside of the burning hell, displaying endless killing intent. The infernal golden crow claw was engraved with dense hell runes. The massive golden crow energy condensed into a tangible substance, emitting a destructive aura. It was like a terrifying claw that stretched out from the depths of the Styx River. Especially after Xia Ping had advanced to the archaic realm, this infernal golden crow claw bloodline mystique had become even more terrifying. When the claw struck down, it seemed to form a world domain, enveloping the surrounding hell and freezing time and space. You dare to destroy my fleet? You're courting death. Feeling this earth-shattering claw, invincible demon Felipe roared angrily. He flew out of the battleship and punched out from the air. Bloodline Mystique, great demon god of desolation fist. This fist contained an ancient and savage aura. It was earth-shattering and seemed to contain the epic of hell. It was as if a demon god had walked out from the depths of the epic, displaying the peerless power of the laws of life and death. Boom! The infernal golden crow claw, and the great demon god of desolation fists collided, immediately erupting with an earth-shattering sound. The intense collision of the two energies produced a terrifying explosive power. The two energies also produced a terrifying shockwave that spread out in all directions. The surrounding battleships seemed to be unable to withstand the strong winds and were blown tens of millions of kilometers away. Terrifying cracks also appeared on the battleships. Cracking sounds rang out, as if they were about to be shattered by the shockwave. Even some demons on the battleships bled from their 7 orifices and fell unconscious on the ground. The might of this claw was so terrifying. Many demons were shocked. Before coming here, they already knew that a demon in the burning hell had killed the archaic demon Cameron and the other demons. But they didn't expect this demon to be so terrifying, to be able to resist Demon Felipe to this extent. All of them were shocked. Whoosh! In an instant, Xia Ping's figure flashed and immediately appeared in the burning hell's void. He stood in the void and looked at Demon Felipe in the distance. Demon Fengdu. Demon Felipe's eyes narrowed as he stared at Xia Ping with a look of disbelief. This kid was at most an early-stage archaic demon, but the power that erupted from that claw was actually comparable to his great demon god of desolation fist. How unbelievable was this? It was simply unheard of, because under normal circumstances, it was impossible for an archaic demon to be a match for an invincible demon. They would be killed in a single exchange. It was simply impossible for them to fight to a draw. Demon Felipe, you still dare to invade my burning hell? You've got guts. Do you want to die? Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the group of demons indifferently, without the slightest hint of fear. Arrogant. Hearing this, Demon Felipe laughed loudly. Mere archaic demon dares to say such words to me, Demon Felipe? Who's the one that wants to die? He was so angry that he laughed. He was an invincible demon, a true demon that dominated the burning hell. And this kid was at most an archaic demon. But this kid actually dared to boast shamelessly, saying that he had guts, and even asked if he wanted to die. This was like an ant challenging an elephant, asking if the elephant was courting death for daring to step on him. For so many years, Demon Felipe had dominated the burning hell, slaughtering nonstop. But he had never heard such a joke. Chapter 28:17. Go to hell. Invincible Demon Felipe roared angrily. He did not care whether this kid was arrogant or confident. In any case, all demons who stood in his way had to die and turn into dust. Bloodline magic, wild sand hell. Rumble, in an instant, with invincible Demon Felipe's body as the center. A terrifying world covered a radius of thousands of light years, as if it had suddenly turned into a wild sand hell. This was a terrifying desert world made up of gravel. It was filled with drought, death, and scorching heat. Any life that entered it would be sucked dry of blood and turned into a dried corpse. Under the cover of this wild sand hell, no demon could escape. Every grain of black gravel would be blown up by the wind, containing a terrifying power of death. If it hit an enemy, the power of death would instantly invade their body and corrode their entire body, causing them to die without a complete corpse. Moreover, it was extremely difficult to break through this wild sand hell. All the attack power that bombarded this world would be devoured and turned into the power of death. In other words, the more one attacked this world, the stronger this wild sand hell would become. Lord Felipe is going all out from the start. It seems that this demon Guidu is dead for sure. What a pity. I wanted to see this kid's strength, but it seems that I won't have the chance. Once Lord Felipe uses his full strength, the game will be over. This kid will definitely die. Many demons in the distance were discussing. They all looked at Xia Ping with pity. All of them thought that Xia Ping, the primordial demon, was dead for sure and had no hope of survival. Because they did not know how many times they had seen invincible Demon Felipe use this move. Even an invincible realm demon would have to spend a lot of effort to resist this move. Not to mention a mere primordial demon. It was likely that Guidu would be dead in a single move. A cold light flashed in Xia Ping's eyes. He immediately felt as if he had entered a sand hell. He was surrounded by an endless black desert. The wind howled and emitted a deathly still aura. The death monsoon blew in all directions. The black gravel attacked. Every grain of gravel was a terrifying bullet containing the power of death. It could easily penetrate the defense of a saint. If an ordinary saint stayed in this place, he would probably be killed in an instant and become a dried corpse. Earthquake. In the blink of an eye, Xia Ping grabbed the golden sword transformed from the golden slime and activated his fifth divine ability, Earthquake. This sacred art came from the source energy of the Mother Earth Stone. If this earthquake sacred art was used, it could cause the earth to shake, the void to vibrate, and a spatial storm. By the time Xiao Jin leveled up to become a half-step divine artifact, this magic skill had reached an unprecedented level. A casual swing from it could tear space apart and sink continents. Dong! Xia Ping held the golden sword in his hand and waved it gently, completely activating the earthquake divine ability. In an instant, the entire hell of sand trembled and rumbled. At that moment, the hell of sand kept on trembling. Every single grain of black sand jumped along with the tremors. It was as if the entire world could not withstand such a terrifying frequency of tremors. Kacha! Kacha! The entire hell of sand seemed to be shattering. With Xia Ping's body as the center, a terrifying sound wave was produced, blasting out in all directions. The frequency of the tremors appeared billions of times, destroying everything. Along the way, all the black gravel was shaken into a powdery state. Even the gale was easily torn apart, unable to withstand such a bombardment. Impossible! You're just an ancient demon, yet you're able to shatter my hell of sand. What a joke! At the sight of this, the invincible demon Felipe went crazy. He was a sand demon that had successfully condensed the hell of sand. When he displayed the power of his domain, he was simply invincible and invincible. If a demon of the same level could withstand this move of his, he would still be able to understand it. However, this kid before him was just an ancient demon, yet he was able to shatter the hell of sand that he had condensed with a single swing of his sword. How could he accept something like that? Are you kidding me? How could he shatter Lord Felipe's hell of sand so easily? What's going on? This is the life and death domain of an invincible realm demon. It's equivalent to a plane of hell. When it shrouds down, it's basically crushing. Any demon below the invincible realm will definitely die. No way. Could it be that this demon Guidu is pretending to be weak? He's actually an invincible realm demon that's just pretending to be an ancient demon. His purpose is to make Lord Felipe lower his guard? Impossible. Even so, Lord Felipe didn't lower his guard and still used all his strength. But even so, this demon Guidu still shattered the hell of sand. It's fake. It must be an illusion. How could a mere ancient demon fight with Lord Felipe to such an extent? All the demons widened their eyes in disbelief. At first they thought that this kid was dead for sure. They didn't expect that he would shatter the power of invincible demon Felipe's domain in just one move. They had never seen any ancient demon that could do this. No one could imagine the shock and disbelief in the depths of their hearts at this moment. Mighty thunder! But Xia Ping didn't care about the feelings of the invincible demon Felipe. The power of the 9 great seas of consciousness burst out at the same time. It was as turbulent as the power of the 9 great worlds. He held the golden long sword in his hand and slashed out again. The 8th magical power of the golden slime, mighty thunder. It could summon a sea of thunder and form an absolute thunder domain. It was like a thunder catastrophe, and it could kill the enemy. It was extremely destructive. This power came from the Thunder God Stone. Whoosh! In an instant, with Xia Ping's body as the center, billions of purple thunderbolts were summoned. Each one was the size of a bucket and contained a terrifying aura of thunder catastrophe. This was no ordinary thunderbolt. It was the 9th heaven tribulation thunder. It had a natural restraining effect on demons and other creatures with negative attributes. Its power was terrifying. Descend and destroy this demon. Xia Ping waved the golden long sword in his hand lightly. Suddenly, billions of 9th heaven tribulation thunder descended at the same time, covering the area. With a crackling sound, It seemed to form an endless sea of thunder. These ninth heaven tribulation, thunder seemed to have turned into lightning dragons. As if they had a consciousness of their own, they swam in the sea of thunder and attacked the demons in all directions. It was as if yang attribute energy was automatically looking for yin attribute energy. There was a natural attraction. Sogu website. Chapter 28:18. However, the attraction of the yin and yang attribute was fatal to the demons. Damn it! Dodge! Dodge! We can't face it head-on. Damn it! Retreat! We have to retreat immediately. We can't get involved in their battle. Otherwise we're dead. Hurry up! Start the spaceship and leave. Are you trying to get us killed? Many demons panicked and cursed. They felt a fatal crisis. Although this attack was mainly aimed at the invincible demon Felipe, it was still not enough to stop them. Although this attack was mainly aimed at invincible demon Felipe, the aftermath could kill countless weak demons nearby. The battleships retreated quickly, as if they wished their battleships had more legs. They desperately wanted to leave the battle range of Xia Ping, an invincible demon Felipe. However, it was too late. Dong! 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 A large number of ninth heaven tribulation lightning descended and bombarded the battleships like missiles. The demons in this sea of lightning all let out shrill screams. They were struck by the ninth heaven tribulation lightning and were instantly killed, turning into ashes. Suddenly, the black battleships were smashed and split from the middle. A large number of demons in the battleships could not withstand such a bombardment and were directly turned into ashes. Moreover, just a single shockwave had caused 1/3 of the warships to be lost, and countless demons had died. They were like cannon fodder, all of them disappearing. Invincible demon Felipe, who bore the brunt of the attack, faced the vast majority of the ninth heaven tribulation lightning. It was as if an endless sea of lightning was pouring down, completely drowning him. Armor of sand. Invincible demon Felipe roared. Endless black hell gravel gathered together and formed a total of 129,600 layers of armor of sand. Moreover, the armor of sand covered his body tightly. It was airtight and had no blind spots. Dong! 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 In that instant, 1,000,000,000,000 bolts of tribulation lightning descended, bombarding the invincible demon Felipe's body. Each bolt of tribulation lightning easily shattered his armor of sand. In the end, even the 129,600 layers of sand armor were all shattered by the nine heavens tribulation lightning, which reached its body directly. With a hong sound, the invincible demon Felipe cried out miserably. His entire body was charred black by the electricity, and thick smoke rose. The terrifying power of thunder invaded his body, destroying every cell in his body. Even his soul was injured. Devil Fengdu, you're courting death. The invincible demon Felipe flew into a rage. Although the blow just now did not completely injure him, it made him feel great pain. It was a pain that he had not experienced for a long time. Moreover, he had been injured by a mere primordial demon. This was simply a disgrace to him. Crash, in just a breath's time, the injuries on the invincible demon Felipe's body were completely healed. It was as if he had devoured a large amount of life energy and completely healed his injuries. Not only did it not suffer any injuries, but it also became even more violent, like a completely enraged beast. Purgatory sand, fall into the yellow springs for me. The invincible demon Felipe was extremely violent. Trillions of red gravel condensed from his body, and from these red gravel, the terrifying power of death, heat, flames, burning, destruction, and so on permeated. This was because these red gravel were not ordinary gravel. They were terrifying gravel found in the ruins of a demon god in hell. Legend had it that they were picked from the purgatory hell. Every grain of gravel contained the power of purgatory. Once one was hit, the whole body would be eroded by the power of purgatory, robbing all the vitality in the body. At the same time, the blood in the body would burn and turn into ashes. And this was the invincible demon Felipe's trump card. With the purgatory sand in his hand, it was equivalent to having a super weapon. Other invincible demons were somewhat afraid of him. At this moment, He took it out to kill this damned devil Fengdu and destroy this kid's prestige. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, endless purgatory sand gushed out from the invincible demon Felipe's body. It seemed to form a terrifying hell monsoon storm, like a tornado. The storm of the hell monsoon swept toward Xiaoping with terrifying might. It was as though the slightest gust of this hell monsoon was enough to turn a great 1,000 worlds into dust, leaving not even a single corpse behind. Amazing, but if you want to kill me, just this is far from enough. Xiaoping's pupil shrank. He could naturally feel the terrifying power of the invincible demon Felipe. The red gravel contained the terrifying power of purgatory. Even an invincible demon might not be able to resist it. If his body was hit, he would definitely be heavily injured. However, he had no fear in his heart. The ninth divine ability of the golden slime, heavenly crystal body. With this sword, one could transform into a heavenly crystal body. It was indestructible, and any physical attack could be temporarily immune once. The time interval was 1 hour. This ability came from the strange stone of the universe, heavenly crystal stone. Whoosh, in an instant, Xiaoping held the golden sword in his hand. From the depths of the golden sword, a huge amount of heavenly crystal power gushed out. In an instant, a huge crystal was formed outside his body, covering his whole body. This crystal was hexagonal and transparent. It shone with a dazzling light, just like a diamond. Its hardness seemed to be even stronger than the world barrier. Dong dong dong. At this moment, the hell storm formed by the invincible demon Felipe's purgatory sand attacked, bombarding Xiaoping's heavenly crystal body. In just an instant, the heavenly crystal body seemed to have suffered billions of attacks. The endless purgatory sand bombarded the heavenly crystal body, causing terrifying damage. The diamond-like heaven crystal body seemed to be unable to withstand such a terrifying destructive force, and a dense number of terrifying cracks appeared on it. It was as if the heavenly crystal body would be torn into pieces by this hell storm at any time. However, even though it looked like it was on the verge of collapse, the heavenly crystal body still stood tall. Until the hell storm ended, it was not completely destroyed. Damn it! It can actually block my purgatory sand. How is this possible? What kind of treasure is this? The invincible demon Felipe was simply crazy. The purgatory sand was his top trump card. Every time he attacked, there would be blood, causing the enemy to suffer unparalleled damage. Now this brat had actually used some unknown method to actually block this fatal trump card of his. How inconceivable and outrageous was this? If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed such an absurd fact. Sogu website. Chapter 2819. Space-Time Sword Formation. After blocking the invincible demon Felipe's strongest attack, Xiaoping instantly attacked. He held the golden long sword in his hand and slashed at the invincible demon Felipe. Rumble! In an instant, with Xiaoping's body as the center, a sword formation that covered thousands of light years was formed. It seemed that as soon as the sword formation appeared, it immediately imprisoned the space-time of hell in all directions. All the demons within the range of the sword formation felt a powerful confinement force. It seemed that at this moment, other than being able to think, they could not move at all. Even time had stopped at this moment. Oh no! The invincible demon Felipe's expression changed drastically. He felt a fatal crisis approaching. Even though he was an invincible demon, he seemed to be temporarily imprisoned by the space-time sword formation. In a battle between peerless experts, even a second of imprisonment could be fatal. Such a decisive battle could not tolerate the slightest bit of carelessness. Whoosh! 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 In an instant, hundreds of millions of golden sword auras flew out from the void. They contained an indestructible sharpness that seemed to be able to cut through all matter in the world. This sharpness came from the law of vibration. It cut through everything at an extremely high frequency. Even a vast 1,000 world would be easily cut in half. If it was hit by such sword auras, even if it was a demon that had comprehended the law of life and death, it would most likely be cut into countless pieces, and would be seriously injured on the spot. Purgatory exploding stars. In an instant, the invincible demon Felipe roared. He simply used all his strength, operating the huge magic power in his body, and gathering endless purgatory sand. Walala, in just a breath's time, hundreds of millions of balls of purgatory sand were condensed. Each of them seemed to be the size of an ordinary planet. They contain the terrible power of purgatory, such as death, destruction, heat, and so on. Moreover, this power was extremely unstable, and seemed to be filled with terrifying heat. Rumble in the next second, under the control of the invincible demon Felipe, hundreds of millions of balls formed from purgatory sand immediately exploded. It was like hundreds of millions of supernovae exploding, producing a terrifying power. Kacha! 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 The space-time that was confined in all directions could not withstand such a shocking explosive power. The surrounding swordway domain was torn apart by this power. The surrounding void of hell was like glass, showing signs of shattering. Dense space-time fissures appeared, like a dense spider web. Hoo-hoo-hoo! The invincible demon Felipe gasped for breath. A large number of wounds had appeared on his body, and blood flowed from them. Clearly, he had paid a great price for destroying Xiaoping's space-time sword array. It had consumed almost half of its origin energy. Even an invincible realm devil couldn't recover to his peak state in a short time, after such an amazing blow. I finally found a flaw. Whoosh! Xiaoping's eyes flashed with a cold light. He activated the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell, and locked onto Felipe's every move. He used all kinds of magical powers in order to create a flaw in the invincible demon Felipe. Clearly, he had finally succeeded at this moment. He used the space-time sword array, and forced the invincible demon Felipe into a desperate situation. Finally, it revealed a fatal flaw. Whoosh! In an instant, Xiaoping's body flashed. He teleported, and appeared in front of the invincible demon Felipe in an instant. He was so fast that no devil could react. Demon Fengdu. The invincible demon Felipe's hair stood on end. He sensed that Xiaoping had come to his side. A fatal crisis enveloped his whole body, causing all the cells in his body to tremble. But it was too late for him to escape. The blow that broke the space-time sword array just now had consumed a large part of his strength. There was no way he could recover so quickly. At this moment, he was in the moment when he had just used up his old strength, and had not yet recovered. Although it was only a moment's flaw, Xiaoping still found it, and used a fatal blow. Dong! Xiaoping didn't hesitate. He stabbed with the golden sword in his hand. It was like a meteor, but it also seemed like the blink of an eye. It instantly pierced through the invincible demon Felipe's chest. The sword was unbelievably fast. It seemed to have formed the trajectory of the laws, and contained the rhythm of the great Tao. It was like an extremely powerful sword that came from the depths of hell. The sword pierced through Felipe's body before the other party could even notice it. It's useless. I'm an invincible demon. I've comprehended the laws of life and death. I can reverse the two energies of life and death. Even if you pierce through my body, you can't kill me. The invincible demon Felipe sneered. He was fearless. He even wanted to reach out to grab the golden sword in Xiaoping's hand, and capture the demon Fengdu completely. The 13th divine ability, God-slaying power. Xiaoping was neither happy nor sad. He finally used the last divine ability of the golden slime. It was a terrifying divine ability that had been born after devouring 108 pieces of divine artifact shards. Rumbled immediately, a black destructive energy surged out from the depths of the golden sword. It seemed to bring about endless doomsday. It also seemed like the collapse of the universe, the end of an era, and the dusk of the gods. Although the power was weak, it could destroy everything. All laws turned into nothingness before it. It seemed like everything had returned to the primordial state. No, no, no. What kind of power is this? What kind of power is this? The invincible demon Felipe finally revealed a look of fear. He could feel death approaching. It was as if this power was even more terrifying than the power of the underworld, and it could bring the end to all things in the world. Even though he was an invincible demon who had comprehended the laws of life and death, he could not withstand this God-slaying power. Under the collision of this God-slaying power, the balance of the laws of life and death was crushed. The power of life and death was completely out of balance, and even the origin power of hell on his body was obliterated. Boom! In an instant, the invincible demon Felipe died. He did not even have time to scream. His entire body was shattered into pieces, and even his soul was shattered. Moreover, this god-slaying power did not end there. After killing the invincible demon Felipe, it seemed to turn into a terrifying beam of light, piercing through the space of hell, and set off for a distant space. Dong! Not far away from the infernal hell, there was a medium hell plane. The black beam of light instantly struck this medium hell plane. In the blink of an eye, the medium-level hellish plane shattered like an egg. Then, a huge black mushroom cloud rose up into the air. All the demons in the medium hell plane died. Not a single one survived. Chapter 28:20. God-slaying power? What kind of power is this? To be honest, Xiaoping was also stunned. Although he knew that this power was called God-slaying power, and was said to be able to kill even gods, he did not expect it to be so powerful. Previously, he had only wanted to give it a try to see if he could kill the invincible demon. If he could not, he would probably have to think of another way. However, the power of this god-slaying power was simply beyond his imagination. Just a wisp of god-slaying power was enough to shatter the invincible demon Felipe's soul, causing him to die without being able to fight back. If he had the power of the golden slime before, he would definitely not have let the 3 invincible realm angels return alive. They would have all died tragically in the void of the universe. Too powerful. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He felt that this power was very ominous. It contained a terrifying power that could end everything and destroy everything. Even the laws would collapse because of it. He sensed that this was definitely a power that could slay gods, a power that could cause gods to fall. However, the golden slime currently only had a wisp of this god-slaying power. After using this attack, it would need at least 3 months to completely recover. If I could control this power, wouldn't I be invincible? Xiaoping was extremely shocked. He silently felt that the god-slaying power was filled with destructive, ominous, and other auras, but it was undoubtedly the strongest power. The so-called power was not ominous, dark, or anything else. It all depended on how the user used it. Of course, if one could not control this power, it would be a different matter. At this moment, when the invincible demon Felipe's subordinates saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. They could not believe what they were seeing. You must be joking. Lord Felipe is dead? Killed by this demon Songdu? One of the primordial demons subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva, his throat squirming. That's impossible. Lord Felipe is an invincible demon. Do you know that an invincible demon is an overlord of hell? An existence on the level of a king. Invincible demon, do you know that? How could such an existence be killed? What kind of hellish joke is this? One of the primordial fiends couldn't accept this reality, and he roared. But Lord Felipe is still dead. Even the aura of his soul has disappeared. He was stabbed to death by the demon Songdu. Another demon beside him could not help but say. Of course it knew how terrifying Felipe was. He had roamed the infernal realm for countless eras, and who knew how many times he had fought against the void monsters. And they had also witnessed Felipe's strength time and time again. It was absolutely extraordinary. Even an existence of the invincible demon's level would not be able to kill him. But such an existence had been stabbed to death by the demon Songdu in front of everyone. They had seen this happen with their own eyes. It could not be faked. Of the demon, Lord Felipe was killed by the illusion. Of God of a rank. Demon God Master, God of Demon of God. The ancient demon roared. It felt that this was definitely an illusion. How could a mere ancient demon kill the invincible demon Felipe? If this wasn't an illusion, then how could it be possible? Boom! Just as the primordial demon finished speaking, Xiaoping's sword slashed out from afar. The ancient demon issued a pitiful scream. It was simply unable to resist. Its entire body was instantly cleaved in half by the golden sword light. Even its soul was crushed to smithereens. The ancient demons were stunned. Their hair stood on end. They felt as though they had fallen into an icy hell. Their bodies shivered and shivered. How could this be an illusion? Nothing could be more real than this. Even an ancient demon was killed by the demon Songdu in a single slash. It had no strength to resist. And this was enough to prove the terrifying strength of the demon Songdu. Without a doubt, the demon Songdu was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. On the surface, it looked like an ancient demon. But in reality, it was an invincible one. The reason they could not sense it was because they had been tricked. Heavens, what a despicable and shameless invincible devil. In order to make them lower their guard, it had even pretended to be an ancient demon to trick them. Invincible devils could rely on their own strength to kill gods. They did not need any crafty plots. But this demon Songdu was different. It was shameless. Even though it had reached the invincible realm, it still used all sorts of tricks. They were not afraid of the weak using tricks. What they were afraid of was the strong being shameless. This bastard demon Songdu was completely shameless. It was here to bully the weak. Do you want to live, or do you want to die? Xiaoping looked down at the group of devils with indifference. Of course we want to live. The ancient demons nodded their heads. Not a single one of them wanted to die. Even ants wanted to live, let alone powerful devils like them. Although Xiaoping was alone at the moment, they didn't feel as if they were outnumbered at all. They felt as if they were ants facing a supreme god. It's good that you want to live. Fuse with the nether god imprint. Xiaoping waved his hand. The golden crow of hell's bloodline in his body began to boil. It rapidly condensed billions of nether god imprints. This was the divine ability of his bloodline, nether god imprint. As long as they fused with the nether god imprint, these devils would become the golden crow of hell's dependents. At that time, their lives and deaths would be under his control. It was better to control these devils than to kill them. After all, the burning hell still needed a large number of devil soldiers to guard it. These ancient demons were the best soldiers to prevent all kinds of blind invaders in the future. Rumble in an instant, these ancient demons did not dare to resist. They allowed the nether god imprint to fuse with their sea of consciousness and parasitize the deepest part of their souls. Not long after, these invincible demon Felipe's subordinates all became Xiaoping's subordinates. Right, there's also demon Felipe's corpse. Xiaoping waved his hand, and immediately threw demon Felipe's broken corpse in front of the world tree for it to devour. He was looking forward to it. He did not know what kind of mysterious fruit the world tree would condense after devouring the corpse of the demon Felipe. After consuming such a fruit, his cultivation base would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Chapter 28-21. At this moment, in a palace in the burning hell, Xiaoping was cultivating in seclusion. The demons subdued by Xiaoping were scattered all over the burning hell. They found their own places to stay temporarily, and hibernated in the burning hell. With the control of the nether god curse, and the erosion of the golden crow hell's bloodline, these demons all became Xiaoping's dependents. They were all loyal, and could no longer betray him. It's finally born. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. His divine sense sank into the deepest part of his sea of consciousness. Whoosh at this time, after devouring demon Felipe's corpse, the world tree immediately obtained great benefits. Its entire body seemed to have grown by at least a third. Every branch, every leaf, every root on its body became unprecedentedly powerful. Every time it swallowed energy, it formed a huge energy tide. It was like a divine tree standing in the vacuum of the universe. This was completely different from when Furukawa obtained the world tree. At that time, the world tree was only a seedling, but now it had the initial characteristics of a divine tree. It was as if the world tree at this moment was filled with the laws of space, time, creation, life and death, and so on. It itself seemed to be an amalgamation of endless worlds. One could imagine how much origin energy the corpse of an invincible demon contained. Devouring the corpse of an invincible demon was equivalent to devouring the corpses of tens of thousands of primordial demons. However, invincible demons were not so easy to kill. After all, they grasped the life and death laws, and could freely switch between life and death in their bodies. If not for the golden slime evolving and grasping the god-slaying power, it would have been difficult for him to kill Demon Felipe. He could only watch helplessly as Felipe escaped. But no matter what, he still won. He killed Demon Felipe and subdued all of Demon Felipe's subordinates, greatly strengthening the foundation of the burning hell's demons. After devouring the corpse of the invincible demon, the world tree finally condensed a natural fruit called the fruit of life and death. The fruit was black and white. One side was white and contained the power of the law of life, while the other side was black and contained the power of the law of death. The power of life and death was being nurtured in this fruit. If it wasn't for the world tree's special ability, the universe wouldn't have given birth to such a heavenly fruit that could balance the power of life and death. This was truly an opportunity for the universe. At the same time, he could also sense how much life force this fruit contained. It simply surpassed all the other fruits Xiaoping had seen before. Is this the fruit of life and death that contains the life essence of the invincible demon? Xiaoping could feel every single cell of the golden crow of hell within his body stirring. They desired to devour this special fruit that contained the powers of life and death. They wanted nothing more than to swallow it immediately. With a snap, he swallowed the fruit of life and death without hesitation. Rumble, a moment later, the fruit of life and death entered Xiaoping's stomach, where it melted and transformed into life and death energy, which then entered his Dantian region, his sea of energy, his limbs, his bones, and even his meridians. What an enormous amount of energy! Xiaoping's eyes widened. He felt as if his body had devoured all the origin energy of dozens of worlds. If it weren't for the fact that he had 9 sea of consciousness spaces in his body, where every single cell contained the laws of the world, he definitely wouldn't have been able to contain the power of life and death. If an ordinary primordial demon were to consume this fruit of life and death, he would probably explode in an instant. All the laws of the world in his body would also explode. However, this fruit of life and death was just right for Xiaoping. This feels good. Xiaoping could feel the magic power in his body increasing at a rate visible to the naked eye. Generally speaking, if he wanted to fill every single cell in his body with magic power, he would need at least hundreds of millions of years of cultivation. However, after consuming this fruit of life and death, it was equivalent to devouring the life essence of an opponent that had cultivated for countless years, robbing them of their lifetime's cultivation. One could imagine just how great the benefits he would receive would be. The laws of life and death. However, the most important benefit for Xiaoping was the fragments of the laws of life and death contained in the fruit of life and death. He could feel the fragments of the laws of life and death flowing in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Although they were only fragments and not the complete laws of life and death, they still gave him a preliminary understanding of the laws of life and death, which would be of great benefit to him in comprehending the laws of the world. He could feel fragments of the laws of the world condensing in the depths of his sea of consciousness, constantly making up for the missing fragments of the laws of the world. Dong. After an unknown period of time, Xiaoping felt his body tremble. It was as if the endless ocean of energy had rushed to a certain bottleneck in his body. Mid-stage archaic realm. At this moment, Xiaoping sensed that he had finally broken through the bottleneck, advancing from the early-stage archaic realm to the mid-stage archaic realm. His strength had advanced by a small level. Moreover, this was just the beginning. The energy contained in the fruit of life and death was too great, causing the magic power in his body to increase rapidly, finally reaching the peak of the mid-stage archaic realm. It was as if he was just one step away from advancing to the late-stage archaic realm. Mid-stage archaic realm. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. After advancing to the mid-stage archaic realm, the internal space of the cells in his body that contained the laws of the world had also expanded further, doubling in size. The magic power that the cells of the laws of the world in his body could contain had also increased. It was as if every move of his contained great power, and his magic power alone could distort the vacuum of the universe. He could feel that the magic power in his body was unprecedentedly powerful. At the same time, the power of his divine sense had also improved. Previously, the range of his divine sense could cover a diameter of 10 million light years. Now it could cover 20 million light years, doubling in size. Thanks to the growth of the power of his divine sense, his illusory ability had also improved. Golden Crow Hell Bloodline. Of course, the biggest benefit for Xia Ping was that the Golden Crow Hell Bloodline had also improved. Previously, he had awakened 5 trillion Golden Crow Hell cells, and now, he had awakened 6 trillion Golden Crow Hell cells. It could be said that he had awakened a total of 1 trillion Golden Crow Hell cells this time, which was equivalent to the Golden Crow Hell bloodline in his body, increasing by 20%. This was not a small number. It would not be long before he would be able to awaken 10 trillion Golden Crow Hell cells. When that time came, who knew what kind of transformation the Golden Crow Hell bloodline in his body would undergo? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.